Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast Trade Deadline Spectacular, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome in. Make sure you smash that like button for us right off the bat. There's no one left to be traded. All right, that's been our CHGO Trade Deadline Draft Spectacular. No,
everybody's gone.
Yeah. No, thanks for being with us. We always appreciate it. We are monitoring everything that's going on in the NHL. I think before today was something like 43 trades had gone down or something.
43 trades had gone down, and the average on trade deadline day is like 20.
Yeah.
Which would be a smashed record.
Yes. So nothing from the Hawks yet today. We saw Andreas Athanasiou, Connor Murphy on the ice. Alex Stalock was on the ice. All the guys who we think could potentially be traded by the deadline today at 2 p.m. were on the ice and participated in practice. And as far as we know, we're not yanked off the ice to accommodate a trade. We have been hearing over the last couple days when Kyle Davidson might talk. We're told that he will talk right at 2 o'clock today, which was moved back from potentially like 10:30 this morning. So does that mean something's brewing? Maybe. Stay with us. We'll let you know. Yes. We're going to recap all the trades the Hawks have made so far. We're going to give our trade deadline winners and losers towards the end of the show. And just rest assured, we will be keeping our eye on everything happening hockey-wise. And I know a lot of people in the chat will be doing that as well. So, yeah. What do we think? Anything else going to happen? Just top of your head?
I have a feeling if anything happens, it's going to be a minor league deal that will benefit the Ice Hogs. I think, going to practice, everyone was there and accounted for that was supposed to be. Athanasiou, Murphy, Radish, Stalock, all those guys, they were out there playing. I think if there was anything in the cards for them, they probably would have not been on the ice. So I think as far as the deals that are going to impact the NHL team, I think Kyle Davidson's probably done. If it's anything, it's probably going to help the Ice Hogs. We could be surprised by something. I mean, the next 50-plus minutes could bring about something that just kind of comes out of the woodwork. There always seems to be something like that. But I think with the guys that are still here and with what we're kind of seeing on the market for players of quote-unquote equivalent value, I'm not sure if Kyle Davidson does anything like that. Like James Van Riemsdyk is out there rumored for like a third.
Yeah.
He would probably get more than Athanasiou, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So if you're moving Athanasiou for like a fifth or a future fourth or something like that, I don't know if you actually do it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Someone might panic here in the last few minutes and say, well, we didn't get this guy, we haven't got anything, or the team is trying to chase us down, got somebody and we didn't. Maybe somebody panics and picks up the phone and says, we'll give you a third for Athanasiou. I just don't see it happening at this point, but you never know. At first when we got told by the Blackhawks yesterday that like Kyle Davidson will meet the media anywhere from like 10:30 to 2 tomorrow, and at first I was like, oh, did he get a job working for Comcast? Because that's like kind of their that's their window. But we were all like, well, then he's probably done. If he's going to talk to the media at 10:30, he's done.
As early as 10:30 would have been like, it's over.
And then it was this morning. It was 11:30, and then we decided to go to practice. And then we were told it's going to be closer to 2, and then we were like, well, we obviously can't be there for that. So who knows? We'll have to say, we'll have to see what happens. And, what was that from? Oh, Southside Photo. Yeah, well, I miss the Mount Greenwood Firewater thanks for checking in Bill. I'm sorry that me pulling my trivia caused them to close, but
That's tough.
blame the dream job for that. But yeah, we'll see what happens here in the last. What do we got here? 50-something minutes.
55.
And remember,
minutes-ish.
trades always roll
Yeah.
in after the deadline passes.
Yeah.
Up to 3 p.m. Central and beyond. The official deadline is 2, but there will be things that trickle through. But if Davidson speaks, he's done.
Yeah, the paperwork has to be submitted by 2, and sometimes, with the NHL and their fax machines and their
Pagers.
their pagers and their snail mail.
Don't say fax
things
machines around
things
the
take
Blackhawks office. That brings back PTSD.
Many
Yeah.
bad memories.
yeah. It takes some time for everything to be processed.
I think the only thing we're really going to see here from the Blackhawks is going to be those transactions for the AHL to make sure guys like Reichel and Gutman are eligible to play in the
Yeah.
playoffs. They have to be on the Ice Hogs roster by 2 p.m.
Yep.
in order to be eligible to play in the playoffs. Originally this morning when they sent down Cini, Gust, and Phillips, I thought, those probably type of paper moves, but then it made sense. Anders Bjork is here, Nikita Zaitsev is here, so those guys are physically going back to Rockford.
Was Bjork at practice? I don't know if I actually saw Bjork at practice.
he's supposed to join the team today, but I don't think I saw him specifically.
Yeah, we
also,
saw Zaitsev.
also, it's hard to recognize this team
Right, I don't know
Yeah.
anybody
anymore,
on this
and they
team.
only have the numbers on the helmets, which
Yeah.
my eyes aren't great, and they can't pick that up as
It
easily.
took us 10 minutes to identify Nikita Zaitsev.
Right, yeah.
Because at first of all, it was like, it's number 22. Who's 22? And then it was like, he wore 22 in Ottawa. It's got to be him. And then I'm looking. I'm like, his hockey database profile says he's 6'2", and that guy right there is not 6'2", because he was standing next to Anders England. Why did they only trade for Anders? Guy's name?
Andreas.
Andreas. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna screw that up like Alex and Alec.
That's fine.
Andreas England.
It might not matter
He
for
was standing there. You're probably right.
after a few months.
They're standing next to each other, and England is listed as 6'3", and Zaitsev is listed as 6'2", and it was a good 3 or 4.
Somebody's lying.
Someone's fibbing. Maybe it was the Canadian metric system that they were using. But it's funny when Zaitsev is a Maple Leaf, he's 6'2". When he's
it's
a
funny how
Blackhawk,
that
he's
works.
5'11".
We have a super chat from our buddy Alton V. And he says, after all the trades, sheesh, this team looks bad.
That's the plan.
Yeah, Ben Pope
Yep.
doing the Lord's work, tweeting out the practice lines. You've got Kurashev, Athanasiou, and Reichel, Gutman, Tyler Johnson, and Taylor Radish, Jason Dickinson, Mackenzie Entwistle, and Reese Johnson, and Jujar Kara, Boris Kachuk, and Joey Anderson. Your D pairs are the Jones brothers, Tenorti and Murphy, England and Mitchell, and Zaitsev is your 7th. Anders Bork is coming to join this lineup, though, so that'll help a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and Reese Johnson and Mackenzie Entwistle. Entwistle, I think, was fully in practice, and Reese Johnson was in a non-contact, so we'll still have to see how that shakes out for tomorrow.
That'll be interesting. All right, well, why don't we start going through what the Hawks have done so far? And I think we decided the best way to do this would be chronologically, right? So based on the first trade of the trade season that Kyle Davidson made. This was on February 22nd. The Blackhawks sent future considerations, former All-Star future considerations, to the Ottawa Senators for defenseman Nikita Zaitsev, a 2023 second-round pick, and a 2026 fourth-round pick. That was 9 days ago, and Nikita Zaitsev is finally on the ice for the Blackhawks. I'm sure he will play in tomorrow's game. This is the sort of trade that I thought we'd see, quite frankly, a little bit more of at the deadline here. I thought the Hawks would be looking to help some teams out, take on some bad contracts, let other teams make trades, and get some assets back in return. This is exactly the sort of thing the Hawks should be looking to do.
Yeah.
Is bring in somebody like, and this can happen in the offseason too, around the draft. It's the same thing that happened with Peter Mrazek. The Hawks got a first-round pick for taking Peter Mrazek off the Maple Leafs' hands. But this, to me, I thought was going to be the signal of a bunch of moves like this, but so far, it's the only one. But, I mean, say what you want about Nikita Zaitsev, it doesn't really matter. They're not trying to win in the time he's here, and you got 2 pretty good assets for him.
Yeah, I think it's a second-round pick this year for the Senators might be in the 40 to 50 range. And from what we've been hearing about this year's draft class, that could turn out to be a player that in other years would be going in the first round. So that's not a bad thing to get for a guy who's going to be here for the rest of this year and next year. And the plan is not necessarily to contend, to win many games next year. So he's not a guy that's going to screw up the tank next season. If you want to call next season a tank season or a continued tank, I don't know. We'll have all summer to figure out what we call it. Yeah,
bad.
But he's not going to screw that up. So I think it's totally worth it. They didn't go full Coyotes and get a full roster of players who aren't going to play. But
never go full Coyotes.
Getting something like this where it's a player who's actually going to give you minutes in the NHL, and a team is just trying to give them away, totally fine with it.
Yeah, you've got all these things for free. It's hard to argue when it's free. Mm-hmm. Like Nikita Zaitsev.
Like this.
Yes.
Our bio steals.
It's Nikita Zaitsev is a serviceable NHL defenseman. He's fine. He's not going to be any worse than Jack Johnson was this year.
Yeah.
He's getting paid way too much money, but again, you got to hit the cap floor next season.
Yep.
So you put $4.5 million of that money you needed to spend. You put it on a guy like Zaitsev, who's not going to move the needle in any direction at all next year. And then, hey, maybe he has a decent year, and you can flip him for, next year's version of Andreas Englund at the deadline next year.
Yeah.
So there's no long-term commitment there. So you got 2 free draft picks, a second-round pick in this year's draft, which is pretty good, for a guy that's going to play a season and a quarter for you and move on.
No problem with that.
I'm curious, and I was hoping we get the chance to talk to Kyle Davidson today while we were still there, so we can ask him what he imagines next year to look like. Is it going to be another season like this, just without Taves and without Kane and a bunch of like Jason Dickinson types filling in the roster while they, I'm very curious what next year is going to look like. Whatever it is, even if they do bring up some young players that they see as part of the future, they're still going to probably be a lottery team. So I just wonder what his mindset is heading into next season, and hopefully we get that answer. And I think that could change with the draft, right? Because if they do get Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli, both those guys probably project to be in the NHL next season. Bedard for sure. Yeah. Maybe a little bit less certain with Fantilli. But, I don't know. I'm very curious as to what the approach is going to be for 2023-24. A bunch of people who were not with us last night have joined in today and are asking about Alex Turcotte. I saw this rumor last night a couple times. It is still making the rounds today. I will tell you what I heard last night from a very dependable source within the organization. I was told, quote, he would not be a target. So that is from someone who works for the team. Now, sources always can try to throw reporters off the scent. They don't want to.
They can cover their own butts.
Yeah, they want to cover their own asses. They don't want to give away something they might be trying to make happen behind the scenes. They want to, they don't want other teams to find out about it. Fine, but in my experience with this particular source, that's really never been the case. So I would be surprised if it happens. Look, if the Hawks take a flyer on Alex Turcotte, a former number 5 overall pick, I'm down with that. I'm telling you, I heard about it, I asked about it, and was told pretty much a flat no.
That's the comment right there from our guy Michael Wagner. Read that, and that's exactly how I feel about it. So, lots of names get thrown around. I don't think the Kings are willing to give Alex Turcotte away for nothing.
Yeah.
There's still potential there. So, it's a big nothing to me as far as that stuff.
I tried to do some sniffing around LA as well.
Careful.
And I know. And it just seems like the sense I got was that it's not really a thing that he's being shopped. It's more or less teams just know he's available, and it seems like it's a change of scenery situation. But I don't get the sense that the Blackhawks would be clamoring to get a reclamation project that was the 5th round or the 5th overall pick in 2019, after the GM openly traded the 3rd round pick in the 2019 or 3rd overall pick in 2019. That could have also been a reclamation It just doesn't make sense to me.
We do have a trade affecting the Central Division. The Minnesota Wild have traded Jordan Greenway to the Buffalo Sabres. No word on return there yet. But that's Buffalo was a team I was interested in because you got to wonder, that's a team who they're on the rise. They're sniffing around a playoff spot. But Kevin Adams, their GM and Blackhawks legend, has preached that he's going to stick to his plan. He's not going to do anything crazy. I don't think Jordan Greenway really moves the needle for Buffalo very much. But there's still some time left. But I don't know. I was surprised that Buffalo didn't try to bring in somebody like a Van Riemsdyk or something like that maybe just a player that's still pretty effective, still an impact player, not the star he used to be, but someone that can help them out in their middle six a little bit.
Well, they're probably in a situation where they're a team that's been in a rebuild, trying to get things together for a while now. Now they've got a lot of their young pieces in place that are, hoping to drive them to that next level. They might be in a situation that the Blackhawks hope to be in maybe 1, 2, 3 years where, hey, we got some young pieces that are looking pretty good. We're going back upwards in the standings, and we have multiple first and second and third round picks. Like, it's not a situation that you necessarily need to start panicking and being like, oh crap, like we're doing better than we expected. Here's our first round pick. Get us guys on rental deals. Like, I would be fine with the Sabres, and if the Blackhawks find themselves in a similar situation in the next couple of years, I'm fine with them saying, you know what, this is kind of earlier than expected. Let's stay the course. Maybe we get on a hot run and make the playoffs this year earlier than expected. That's fine with the guys we have, and we don't need to go crazy and mortgage the future because we think it's now. Like, maybe the future is next season, and next season is the year that you get one more year of trying to make sure you can do what you can to keep that window open. And then next year, when you feel like, this is the time now, then you can go out and make contender moves.
Kind of surprised Minnesota traded away Jordan Greenway. I mean, they're in a playoff spot right now, a very tight race within the Central.
They just picked up Oscar Sundqvist from the Red Wings, according to our friend Shayna Goldman.
Yep.
So that is
I just saw that, yeah.
that just happened. Sundqvist with 21 points in 52 games.
I'd rather have Jordan Greenway, to be honest.
I kind of agree with you. A good defensive player,
and he's huge,
tough,
big physical. He is perfect for Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I covered Jordan Greenway a bit when he was in the AHL, and 2019 he was with the Iowa Wild when the Chicago Wolves played them in the Calder Cup final. I remember standing next to him after a game, and he was just in street clothes, and I was in awe of like how gigantic he was. And that was 4 years ago, so I'm sure he's even bigger.
Yes.
So like I would rather have Greenway over Sundqvist, but I'm not Bill Guerin, so it doesn't matter what I think.
Everything I just said you can kind of wash away because the Sabres gave up a 2023 second and a 2024 fifth for Jordan Greenway. So that 2023 second is it's a lot. That's worth something.
Yeah.
He must still have a bunch of term. What's his
No, is he on term?
He must. I bet you he's at least an RFA.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, because he's only been in the league 3-4 years.
I will find that out.
A little bit of news here from Darren Dreger as well. Sounds like the Detroit Red Wings are joining the Seattle Kraken in a push for James Van Riemsdyk.
What the hell are
I don't
the
know
Red
what
Wings
Detroit's doing. Like,
they're trading away young players, but let's get another old guy.
Like, why would you trade Tyler Bertuzzi and bring in James Van Riemsdyk?
Yeah.
And Hronek, why would you trade those
Yeah,
guys?
I got rid of Hronek to
whatever it is, it's smart because Steve Yzerman's doing it. You can't question it. They're going to take us off the air, guys.
I am super happy that Steve Yzerman is stepping in it this year. I'm so tired of the he can't do wrong crap. Yeah, he built a lot of that Tampa team, but, ever since he's been in Detroit, it's rebuild. And then this year, the year he goes for it with all these veteran guys they signed, he gives Ole Mata an extension and trades Philip Hronek. What are you doing?
Yep. I don't get it. I don't get trying to go in and get rental 34-year-old James Van Riemsdyk for what?
Are you trying to make a playoff push?
I guess.
And why trade Bertuzzi?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
By the way,
it's like you're trying to get assets, but also try and stay competitive in this 6 points out of the playoffs standings that you are? Like, I don't know.
Jordan Greenway has 2 more years left to his deal.
2? Okay. Well, there you go.
At $3 million cap hit.
Okay.
So I'm guessing Kevin Adams is thinking 2 years of Jordan Greenway is probably better than anything I can get with those draft picks. So
yeah,
that's a
Fair
decent
enough.
trade for
That's
Buffalo.
fine. Yeah,
Again, I don't understand why Minnesota's doing that, but
Well, maybe there's something else going on. Who knows?
Says they free up $3 million for the next 2 years. So yeah, I mean, Minnesota's a team that Parise and Suter buyout is still going to be biting them for a while.
they're going to be NHL Bobby Bonilla. They're
Yeah,
gonna get
for
money
real.
on that
Yeah, seriously.
for 30 years.
The next Blackhawks trade we have to discuss, made on February 26th, they traded defenseman Jack Johnson back to the Colorado Avalanche for defenseman Andreas Englund, who has played 2 games with the Hawks so far. First game, he got my 4th star of the game. I thought he looked really solid. Last night, struggled a little bit, but younger than Jack Johnson, has shown a physical edge. Took out a Stars player right in front of the net last night and just sort of stood over him a little bit. He would have gotten a taunting penalty in the NFL for it, but a nice solid hit, a big defenseman. No problem with this one either. You knew Jack Johnson was brought in here to provide leadership to a team that was probably going to need it because of how tough this year was going to be. And you knew that if someone came sniffing, they were going to flip him at the deadline. And I really liked the way Kyle Davidson handled this and kind of said to Jack Johnson, like, we can send you back to Colorado if that's something you want to do. And he was like, let me think.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank
Right,
you.
yeah.
So, kind of expected, but good to see a player back in return. And just kind of like I said about the Zaitsev thing, if I have one criticism of Davidson's deadline so far, it's that he hasn't really brought in anyone that like we were talking in practice. I'd like to see him try to, instead of just constantly getting draft picks, to bring in another team's Isaac Phillips, another team's Philip Kurashev, another team's prospect like that, where it's a young guy, 19, 20, 21, that maybe is not going to have a spot on a contender for a while. Give up a decent pick for it and say, hey, let's add a prospect to our pool here and do what we can. So, I that's the only thing I was sort of looking forward to. Bring in some young talent and see what you can do with it. That would be the Alex Turcotte thing, obviously, which I don't think is happening, but something along those lines I would have liked to see, because we know, stockpiling draft picks, and that's a good thing, but I would have liked to see some players who have got some time in junior or college that are right on the cusp of the NHL, or maybe being held back on a team that's just too loaded.
I agree. Maybe, maybe that's what we got in like a Joey Anderson, but I doubt it. I mean, I don't know. It's weird that where it's like nobody wants to trade their 2023 draft picks, but that's all you're seeing flying out the window. So maybe that's why they're like, well, we just gave up our 1st round pick in this incredibly deep draft. We can't get rid of our top prospect.
Right, yeah.
Because, then we're really screwed. Then we don't have a pick in this draft and we're losing our next potential young player. So
Yeah, no team really wants to mortgage themselves that way.
yeah, so it would have been nice to see some more prospects. We've talked about that a few times this season, where it's like, okay, when is it time for Kyle to stop just with that laser focus on draft picks and start getting some guys that could actually play here as soon as this year or next year? But we really haven't seen that yet.
We've got a $5 super chat from No Roids. Just Rage says the Blackhawks win 7 games the rest of the year.
No
Do you take
Rage.
the
No rage, just roids.
Oh, it's the other guy. Well, he's still paid, so we'll read the comment. Thanks for your money.
His money's still
Over under 7 wins for the rest of the year. It seems like a good number.
Sure.
under.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Take the under. Got a quote here from Luke Richardson. Said he'd like to see Max Domi re-signed this summer. Said, quote, I told him I'd love him to come back, but we have to see what kind of prospect pool is coming in and who's available in the summer. But he's shown he fits here really well, and that's always a good option. He really liked it here. He loved it, the city, the team, and it showed. I thought he played with passion, but he's excited, and he knows that he's going to a team that's good and strong and has a chance to win. So that's coming from Ben Pope.
He's totally coming back.
Luke Richardson on Max Domi.
Sure sounds like he's coming back.
I would say, I know we've said like it rarely happens. He might be the next instance of it rarely happening.
Everybody keeps talking about it. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's like a wink-wink sort of a situation,
Right.
it seems.
Hey,
Yeah.
and that's great. If you could add a second-round pick and get him back,
Yeah.
you essentially just got a free second-round pick.
Right. And I was chatting with somebody, I don't know if it was on the chat here or during the game, like, well, Domi's never going to want to come back once he experiences the playoffs. Like, he's experienced the playoffs many, many times.
He was in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, Max Domi's
And he
been in the
willingly came
playoffs.
here. Like,
I think he likes the opportunity to be number one center, number one power play.
Elevated.
You see what he can do with the opportunity. This city went from Max Domi to, oh my God, we love Max Domi. Bring him back, extend him.
right.
The rest of the league doesn't look at him like that. And when I saw, is it Saad Youssef who covers the Stars for?
Yeah.
He's like, don't make no mistake. Evgeny Dodonov is really the big pickup for the Stars, not Max Domi. What? Max Domi's is nearly a point per game player.
That's a freaking terrible.
I don't get what.
Yeah.
Now that we've seen Max Domi for 60 games as a Blackhawk or 59 games, whatever it ended up being, why is his reputation around the league what it is? I don't get it. Yes, we've seen the dumb penalties, right? We've seen the misconducts for sticking up for a teammate. It happened 3 times this year with Domi, but his teammates love him. The coaches love him. He plays his ass off. Like our one real complaint with Domi, aside from the misconducts, was shoot more, be more selfish.
And he was still one of the leaders in goal scoring.
Yeah, I don't understand why the league doesn't see Max Domi. Maybe it's because he came into the league with a lot of hype because of his name, because of his draft status, and hasn't really lived up to that superstar thing, but he's still a damn good player.
I think probably his reputation has grown to, his last name for sure. The way he plays matches his last name a bit. And then I think, if I think there's a sense around the league that, he couldn't get playing time and couldn't make it work in Arizona, and then couldn't really make it work and stick in Montreal, and then he's been bounced around, and so he's just a guy that's a journeyman. Well, it doesn't have to be. I mean, I really think that this summer there is going to be an opportunity for him to be paid more here than on the open market, and probably have more security here than on the open market, because Chicago is a team that's going to have roster spots and money to spend. And if he enjoyed it here, playing for this team, playing for the organization, playing for Luke Richardson, who's the reason that he signed here, if he enjoyed it as much as he has said publicly that he actually has, the fan base and I think the organization were happy to have him. So it makes sense for it to happen and for him to re-sign. So we'll see what happens. This will be an interesting discussion on July 1st.
Yeah, I think he will be back ultimately. I know that rarely ever happens, but he's had his best 2 seasons in the NHL on teams that had Luke Richardson behind the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows if he comes back here, he is top-line center Max Domi. No other team can offer him that.
Yeah, he's for sure a top 6 guy.
And they can pay him more than anybody else can.
Yeah, they can give him an extra year and an extra $1 million per, because they kind of have to.
Right.
So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Nothing wrong with
and
that.
And Steven, I know we've got people jumping in late. We're not here the whole time. Can we just create a lower third that says Blackhawks not in on Alex Turcotte? Just leave it up for the whole day.
Can we have like a running scroll?
Yes, the Alex Turcotte stuff, it's not happening.
Yeah, I wish I knew. I know Pagnota tweeted it this morning.
Pagnota.
I heard it a bunch yesterday. I just, no one who is like truly considered. You talk about like the Dreggers, the Friedmans, the Saravallis, the Kaplans, the Goldmans. Like none of them are even.
I like that
the name's not even being mentioned.
I like that you added the Goldmans in there.
She's
been on fire.
She's been on it this year.
Friend of the program.
Yes, friend of the program, Shayna Goldman. But she's been all over it.
Yeah.
She's been all over it. So, yeah, like until I see it from one of those people, and again, from my best Hawk source, I'll read the quote directly. just so in case I misinterpreted this. The quote is, he would not be a target.
There you go.
That is pretty certain.
I'll take that.
And yes, he's from the Chicagoland area. I know this.
Well, that means he's coming here.
You know who else is from the Chicagoland area? Me. and the Hawks are not trading for me. Like it
They
doesn't.
already have you in the locker room. They don't
Yeah.
need to trade.
Yes, it's just bizarre. Okay, some more news coming out of Hawks practice. It looks like Anders Bjork will make his debut tomorrow against Nashville, as will Nikita Zaitsev. Bjork is flying in this afternoon.
So we didn't miss him.
We did not miss him. And Mackenzie Entwistle is cleared to return from his wrist injury, though he said he'll probably have to play through some pain the rest of the season. And that goes along with the pain of losing his family
Don't.
in that terrible, terrible helicopter crash. Just terrible. Our thoughts and prayers with the Entwistle family. Sorry. I just can't. It's like my favorite thing from this year.
Hashtag
Careful.
Hashtag the orphan.
They
There's
both,
so many first-time listeners that are not going to understand that right now.
I guess I should clarify.
Yeah,
All right.
it
we
is-
need, you know what we need? We
It
need
is
an
an inside
ongoing
joke.
We need an ongoing
need like a dry
post
erase.
on all
a dry
C-
erase board. Like, these are our jokes.
No, we just put it on allchgo.com. You got to become a diehard member to get access to our running list of inside jokes.
So I know we have people who are checking us out for the first time, and thank you. And while you're here, please smash that like button. But when we went to Denver for the first game of the season, Entwistle was talking about how certain guys have family in town for the opener,
still makes
and
me
he
laugh.
said, "I don't have family." He didn't say. He forgot the word "here."
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have family, so it's just me. And we have run with this the entire year that Mackenzie
Even though
Entwistle
both his mom
doesn't
and
have
dad
a family.
follow me on Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, if you tweet one thing about Mackenzie Entwistle, you will find Mackenzie Entwistle's family.
His parents
I promise
will,
you.
His parents will make a note of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, there was no actual helicopter.
There's
accident.
no Entwistle family tragedy. It's
yeah,
it's
not
just,
that we- not that we
just
know
a
of.
And
joke.
if something bad does happen to him, I'm going to feel awful.
I will feel really bad. That's true.
Yeah.
I will.
But
Feel
good for
bad.
Mackenzie getting back on the ice and playing.
Yeah, I
through some
just hope they don't like. They're not playing for anything, and I know it's not necessarily the same Kirby Doc situation from a few seasons ago, but it's just heal up. You need your wrists as a hockey player.
Yeah, and
And as a person, but,
other things too.
These guys.
Roman.
These guys. They just hockey players walk a thin line between bravery and stupidity.
Oh, for
And,
sure.
They want to be out there, and if it's just a little twinge, okay. I mean, I did notice today when I first noticed that Entwistle was back on the ice, is because he was standing at center ice and he had his glove off and he had his wrist taped up and he was kind of moving it around a little bit. I'm like, well, that's not a good sign. He's been on the ice for 5 minutes and he's already looking at his wrist.
Just
But yeah, I mean,
sit up in the press box with us for a few more games. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Got a new user, so let's talk to John S. He says, any chance they can move Seth Jones or Tyler Johnson? Seth Jones is an unmovable contract.
Seth Jones is what we call a boat anchor.
8 years left at $9.5 million?
$9.5 million.
And if the Hawks were to eat half the salary, they're still going to be on the hook for all that money for 8 years. He is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Tyler Johnson, I think, is probably a better option next deadline.
Yep.
As he'll be an unrestricted free agent. I don't think another team wants him for $5 million next year. The Hawks could. They can eat half of us. They got one more or two more.
They have one more
One more, yeah.
retention
They got
slot,
McCabe
yeah.
and Kane where they're eating contract. They got one more. They could do that. So if they wanted to take on half of Tyler Johnson's deal, they could. But I think he becomes a better piece at next year's deadline.
he'll be a good piece next year if he stays healthy.
Yeah, yes, if he stays healthy,
Yeah,
for sure.
If he could play every game or at least almost every game between now and next trade deadline, he could be a real nice piece for a team that's just looking to get that bottom six guy that's got the experience.
Yeah.
Seth Jones isn't going anywhere. I know everybody's just going to ask about it every freaking day for the next 8 years.
He's not going to get traded.
He's not getting traded.
Not getting bought out.
And
he is a Blackhawk until he is not.
And he's still a really good freaking player. Like
you could do worse.
It's
You
not
could do very
like
worse,
it's
very,
8
very
years
worse.
of the last year of Brett Seabrook.
Right.
Like it's not that type of guy. You're still getting a really good player, a number one NHL defenseman.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. We just need to.
We need multiple jars. We need an Alex Turcotte jar. We already have the Hio Shanapi name jar. We need the trade Seth Jones jar.
And
Kane
now the
re-signing.
Kane coming back.
Kane's
going to
re-sign jar.
Yeah.
We just need.
We need to go to Jars R Us.
Steven, run to Michael's Crafts
Can
and
I get 10
Goods.
jars,
and
please?
get some
Yeah.
jars.
You know what?
for
Maybe
us.
we can get a deal with our DNVR fans. Isn't the Avalanche.
Ball.
Arena, their ball arena from the actual.
It's the
ball.
mason jar
Yeah.
company.
Maybe they got a couple of cases of mason jars lying around in that arena they could
Nice.
send over here.
Then we can do some trendy Instagram pics.
Lay our
too.
balls on the table. Let's go. Hey, Chicago, you've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams here at CHGO. So get fitted out in the best sports gear around. Foco's got you covered from the United Center to the living room, north, south, or west side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, banana hammocks, and everything in between. Get decked out like Anders Bjork with apparel from the leader in sports merch and collectibles, Foco. Looking for the perfect gift for the hockey fan in your life? Foco's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. Check out Foco.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Again, that's 10% off with code CHGO at Foco, FOCO.com.
Oh, boy. Hey, if you want to see Anders Bjork and Nikita Zaitsev's Blackhawk debut tomorrow night
Yeah.
and celebrate
Saturday night against the Preds.
CHGO's
Birds.
first birthday while watching Anders
Oh, yeah.
Bjork. Maybe they'll actually have Joey Anderson's name on the scoreboard tomorrow. Head over to Game Time and buy your tickets from those lovely folks. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to anything you want to go to. Anything, sporting event, concert, Broadway show, anything that you have to purchase a ticket for, you can get from Game Time, and you can get the seats you never thought you could ever sit in. You want to sit right on the glass to get a good look at Nikita Zaitsev and all 6'2" of him? Well, it's possible with Game Allegedly. Yeah, the best last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. You're not going to find a better deal on Blackhawks tickets for the rest of this year, and I think those are going to be some real bargains from here on out. And even if they're not the lowest price on Game Time, you find a lower price anywhere else, just let them know, and they will match it. If you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. That burrito is starting to make its way up.
Oh, no.
The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. So scroll down, click that giant thumbs up button on your way down. You'll see the description to buy your Blackhawks tickets and join over 15 million people who've downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats on all your favorite events.
James Van Riemsdyk, according to Elliot Friedman, is a Detroit Red Wing.
Yeah.
Pending physical. All right. Way to go, Stevie Y.
Sure.
Sure. And Shyhawk72, you owe us $1. Please hit that super chat button. No, there is no news on Alex Turcotte.
And there won't be.
There
He's
won't
not
be.
in Chicago.
Hey.
I don't. Why is everybody so excited
don't
about
know.
him anyway? He kind of sucks, and he's always hurt. He's Kirby Doc, except not as big,
Yeah.
and not as even as good as Kirby Doc. For Christ's sake, knock it off. We're not even an hour into this show, and you're making me yell at you people.
We got more trades to get through. To recap, rather.
Yes,
we got sidetracked with each trade.
JV,
Yes, we did.
So
All
what-
right.
So what the hell?
I have
the
no
Red
idea
Wings
what
doing?
Detroit's plan is.
I don't know what
I
Detroit's
love
doing.
it. Piss on Detroit. I love it.
All right. Next trade, you may have heard about this one. The Blackhawks send Jake McCabe, 50% retained, and Sam Lafferty, a 2024 fifth-round pick conditional and a 2025 fifth-round pick conditional, to the Toronto Maple Leafs for Joey Anderson, Pavel Gogolev, a 2025 first-round pick, which is conditional, and a 2026 second-round pick. And that condition for the 2025 is that it is for top 10 protected. So there you have it. That's the biggest return we've seen from the Hawks. And I saw, definitely during last night's show, people kind of frustrated with that return. You got a first for McCabe, you got a second for Lafferty, and you got an NHL player in Joey Anderson, and a prospect in Pavel Gogolev. Like, that's kind of what you thought. You know, I know that, I don't know. I know that people thought it was going to be like a king's ransom for Jake McCabe. I think we have to keep in mind our in-town bias a little bit.
Yeah.
Jake McCabe's great. I love him, right? It's just, I don't know if the league sees him the way we do.
I think we're
Especially Mario.
well,
Hey,
I see
you couldn't give me enough for Jake McCabe.
Jake McCabe, Mario becomes the heart eye emoji human form every time Jake McCabe is showing up.
It's the melting smiley face. That's what it is.
But I think
We're gonna get a restraining order.
We're all guilty as fans. He doesn't have to now. He's far, far away.
That's true.
I think as fans, and I think in the media too, we're guilty of it at times. We overvalue our own players far more than the rest of the league does, and it gets us built these high expectations of what we're going to get for a guy. Oh, I'd give 7 first-round picks for this dude, and then you don't get it, and then you're like, ugh, you know,
then you blame Kyle Davidson.
Yeah. So, yeah, we definitely overvalue our own guys because we see them every day, and we like them, and we're like, hey, I really like watching this guy play, so I don't want to give him up for just anything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the 2 general managers talking about, they don't give a crap about any of that stuff. So you get what you can. And I know I've seen a lot of people, why are you getting picks in 2025 and 2020? Why are you spreading them out so much? Why not get them all for this year? Well, first of all, there's not that many picks left for teams to give up for this year. Some don't want to give up this year's pick, but you have to spread out your draft capital a little bit. Because it helps you down the road to maybe make possible trades, maybe move up to get a guy you like, or go out and get one of those young players that we were just talking about. Hey, if you couldn't get him in a trade for Jake McCabe, maybe you could trade that 2025 first-round pick next year to get that guy that's ready to become an NHL player. Also, you got to think, if you draft 7 guys in this first round, that's 7 guys you have to give second-year contracts to in the same summer.
Yeah, or within a year or two of each other.
Like that, you got to spread it out for that, because obviously you're not going to hit on all 7 of those guys, but if you've got all your prospects coming up in the same year, you're eventually going to be like, oh, crap, we are screwed. We can't pay all these guys at the same time. Unfortunately, that's the way of life in the hard salary cap world. Yeah. So spreading it out where you can have guys who are hopefully going to be cornerstone players arriving, in consecutive years, not all at one time.
Let me ask you this, fellas. The 2025 first-round pick the Hawks got for Jake McCabe, will they be a better or worse team at the end of 2024-25? Because guess what? After 2023-24, Austin Matthews and William Nylander are unrestricted free agents. One of those 2 will not be back with the Leafs after that season. So chances are, the season that pick falls in, the Leafs are going to be a little bit worse than they are now. Maybe. They're not going to be as strong of a team. They're going to lose a significant piece of their team.
Well, then Matthew Nyes just takes their place.
That's the sort of thing, like,
yeah.
I know we've got to get out of the he who shall not be named mode of thinking just right in front of your face. And if Kyle Davidson's looking at it like, all right, I can get a first from Toronto this year, maybe Toronto could win the Cup this year. I know we like to laugh and joke about it. They loaded up. They got tons of good pieces at the deadline.
They did, yeah.
They're a great team anyway. I think they're strong enough to get past Tampa now. And if they get past Tampa, you got to get through Boston, of course, too. But you never know, right? They've done everything they have to do to give themselves that chance. And I'm willing to bet you that in 2025, the Hawks will be getting a significantly better slotted draft pick from Toronto than they would in this year's draft.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's and you know what? Toronto is covering their own butt about it, about that possibility too, by making a top 10 protect and saying, just in case we kind of bottom out and can't afford anybody, they need to protect their own pick. So, yeah, I think it's up in the air, but because you can't really predict anything, but it's possible that Toronto in 2 years is not as strong as they are now, and you could have a pick in the teens that you weren't expecting to have in that draft class previously. So yeah, it's not terrible to have that kind of foresight and think about, not only the draft that's in front of you, but the next one and the one beyond that and the one beyond that. So and like you said, Greg, you could use those extra draft picks in future years as trade sweeteners, or to go out and get somebody, or to move up in a draft. It's all currency until you use it. So it's not a bad idea to have those things spread out. And if the Blackhawks are looking to make sure that it's not just the prospects they have now that come up and make an impact to the team. They want the prospects from the 2022 and 23 and 24 draft classes and so on and so forth to all kind of come up in a nice circle of life, and so that they can
every year you get better.
Yeah, so every year you have a guy like, you can get a chance to have a Korchinski in every draft, or a Del Mastro in every draft class, where you're like, oh, okay, maybe we miss out on a free agent or have to trade somebody or whatever comes up, but here's the next guy coming up and he's ready to go. Like, that's why you see a lot of these teams have sustained success, is that as they cycle through some of their eras of players, they have more guys coming up behind them. It's a lot more unpredictable, I think, to try and sign and acquire your future than it is to draft and build. Yes, Jay?
Okay, apparently James Van Riemsdyk is not going to Detroit.
Oh.
Per Chris Johnston. I guess it was Red Wings had to make another move. That was per Dreger a few minutes ago. Says, likely heading to Detroit. Deal isn't done as Red Wings are in the process of moving another player. That's 5 minutes ago. Now, a minute ago, Chris Johnston says, told James Van Riemsdyk is not getting traded to the Red Wings. And then Darren Dreger a minute ago says, oh boy, things changing fast on JVR.
Weird.
Very weird.
Is it like Detroit changed their mind, or
Maybe they couldn't get that other deal.
I think Steve Yzerman is watching us, and he's like, you know what, I do
you know
suck.
what? That is a bad idea.
Yeah, what am I doing?
My street cred in Chicago means everything to me. I'm going to not make this trade now.
Yeah, he's always been concerned about that.
That's weird. Well, I mean, it just kind of goes to show you how these things evolve minute by minute.
If Detroit had to make another trade to clear out some space, and that trade fell through.
Why are you clearing out space to get James frickin' Van Riemsdyk?
It's Steve Yzerman. Do not question him.
Remember, before this season, Van Riemsdyk was a guy we talked about in the Peter Mrazek, Nikita Zaitsev mold, where, hey, give us something to take this guy on for you.
Yeah. Well, he's had a good year for Philly, so credit to where it's due.
But if Philly doesn't trade him, that's a major loss.
It's a missed opportunity.
But even though this morning Chris Johnson had tweeted out that they were just looking for a third-round pick for him.
Yeah, I wonder why it's getting.
I mean, I guess
convoluted.
I mean, he's this last year of his contract. Yeah, it's a $7 million cap hit, but that's all gets prorated at this point.
Detroit can afford him now. They got $8.1 million in cap space.
All right, so then I don't know.
So you don't have to retain.
I don't know what's going on.
Well, but the Larkin deal kicks in next year, so
but
Van Riemsdyk's a free agent.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought he had another year.
No.
Okay.
Friedman says something happened with JVR and Detroit pulled back from the deal. Did he not pass his physical? We got a Correa situation?
James Van Correa.
That's crazy.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep
Maybe
tabs
Dylan
on
Larkin
that.
said, I don't want to play with that guy.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know.
Let's just make something up. Just recklessly.
Died in a helicopter crash.
Yeah, lost his family.
That's the theme of the day.
Jeez. That Rams Riemsdyk family, that would be quite the loss.
And Trevor's not getting traded either.
No, now he's going to get an extension.
They thought it was Trevor. Like, oh shit, we traded for the wrong Van Riemsdyk.
We wanted Trevor.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, we're at what, 10 minutes till the deadline. Doesn't seem like Blackhawks are doing too much.
By the way,
setting up the podium for Kyle Davidson right now.
Something we should ask about that people have been asking about, and I'm kind of unclear on this too. Mm-hmm. Lucas Reichel was not sent down today.
Well, he's still
not as of yet.
But here's the thing: a lot of times those moves, I'm going to put on the AHL transactions page right now. 'Cause a lot of times those moves really don't get announced per se.
But they announced
Joey Anderson has been sent to the Ice Hogs.
There you go.
I see it on the AHL transactions page here.
But yeah, those moves got announced this morning because those guys are actually going to Rockford to play.
Okay.
Where other times, for those times, you got to go to the AHL site sometimes, because if you go on the AHL website right now, there are a ton of guys.
Yeah, there's so many transactions happening right now, quote unquote.
Yeah, so there are a ton of guys there. So I'll keep this tab open and see, because I don't think the Blackhawks will make that a physical announcement. So we got Joey Anderson.
No, Reichel's here. March 3rd.
Yep, he
Lucas
was
Reichel returned on loan from Chicago. So Reichel's here.
Reichel,
Joey Anderson.
Yep.
Gust.
Okay.
So it's happened.
So it's done.
They're not gonna. The Blackhawks aren't gonna announce that because it's basically just a paper transaction. So it's on the.
Heaney, Phillips, Gust are there. Reichel is there. Bjork is gone.
Gutman
is not there as of right now. Joey Anderson is there.
Okay, so they're probably just processing these things right now.
Yeah.
Crazy that they would make that rule the same day as the deadline. Just to make things a little more complicated.
Well, and the
for all
AHL
GMs.
trade deadline is like a week after this, where guys on AHL deals can still be moved.
That's because their season starts a week later, doesn't it? They just start a little later, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably true. Without looking at it.
Yeah, so there you go. Reichel, according to the AHL page, is returned today.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's just a paper move. So he's eligible. It'll be interesting to see if Cole Gutman. I would assume.
You'd think.
I would even think maybe even an Ian Mitchell, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
And John asks, yes, Reichel is staying. That's what we're saying is when we say paper transaction, it means they're technically sending him back to Rockford.
They need to be
but
on the roster.
They're not physically sending him back to Rockford. That makes him playoff eligible for the Ice Hogs.
He needs to be anybody. If you need to play if you want to play in the Calder Cup playoffs, you have to be on the AHL roster at 2 p.m. today. Once 2:01 comes, you can be put right back on the NHL roster. It's just a paper move.
Yeah.
Just so he's eligible. So Reichel
will play tomorrow against the Predators.
Yes, Reichel, Joey Anderson. Let's see, Gust, Phillips, Heaney. Those guys are going to be all eligible for the playoffs right now. I'm surprised I haven't seen Gutman yet, but still a few minutes to go.
And you know what?
And these things.
Yeah.
Who knows how?
There have been times where I've tried to monitor that, and it's like well into the night.
Yeah,
and then guys show up at like 10 p.m. on the transactions.
Yeah, it's the AHL. It's probably one freaking.
Their
dude
fax machines
on
are
one
older.
Fax machine.
It's Joey Z, just sweating profusely. Got a comment from Connor who says, "Send the whole roster and win the Calder Cup."
You can't.
I don't know if they'd be favorites.
Well,
if you sent the actual Blackhawks down, would they be the favorites to win the Calder Cup?
Maybe.
Yikes.
Yeah.
What's our super chat situation? We got
one
here?
from Ralph. I saw Ralph J says Toronto overhyped Gustafsson and are paying for his defensive inability. Toronto media overestimates some players' inabilities, McCabe specifically. Now, I will not stand for Jake McCabe slander on this show.
We stand.
No, I don't. Yes, getting Eric Gustafsson, I don't know what their decision was on that. But I don't expect him to be in their top 6 for the playoffs whatsoever. I think he's Buffer.
Michael Buffer?
Somebody. Yeah.
Don't say it. Don't say it. He'll sue you.
No, we'll get in trouble.
It's
not even kidding.
I just said let's get ready. Let's get ready, guys.
Don't say it.
But yeah, Gustafsson's just there to be an extra guy who's got experience. I don't know why they decided that he was more valuable than Rasmus Sandin. Again, that's a head scratcher. But yeah, I don't expect him to be in the top 6
I hope
for the
he
playoffs. It'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful theater if he was.
Luke Shen gets hurt and he's got to play.
Yeah, Luke Shen was another guy they brought in too.
Yeah, they're just making moves just to make moves. So Kyle Dubas can say, "Hey, I literally traded for everybody and we still didn't win. It's not my fault."
I just don't. What are GM seeing in Eric Gustafsson that we've missed both times he was around?
Just play him as another forward on the ice, but he just has to hang around the blue line once in a while.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
play
get
him like
it.
short center in a softball team.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's a made up position. He's like Cale Makar, but worse.
Right.
Yes,
very worse.
He's like Mario Lemieux, but worse. Yes, exactly. All right, the next trade. This is the big one. We were waiting for it all year. It's complicated. So the Hawks basically. The Rangers get Patrick Kane and Cooper Zek. The Hawks get Vili Sayarvi and Andy Welinski. And the Coyotes get
a third round
pick. There's the big trade. That's the big one we were waiting for.
We don't have to go over all the conditions on that pick.
Oh my God.
I don't have enough time.
It is very confusing.
Your brain will melt out of your skull.
It could become a first round pick. That's all you need to worry about eventually.
Yeah, if the Rangers reach the Eastern Conference Final, it becomes a first round pick in 2024 or 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you should hope for as a Hawks fan, is the Rangers to reach the Eastern Conference Final.
Nope.
Not sure if that's going to happen.
A Toronto, New York Eastern Conference Final is great for the Blackhawks because it means their Tampa Bay pick gets better positioning and their Rangers pick becomes a first.
No, actually, I don't think. Don't we have to root for Tampa for the McCabe pick to get better?
Yeah, that's what.
Right.
Yeah, we have to root for Toronto for the.
Right.
For the. No, the McCabe pick is what it is.
Okay.
It's top 10 protected.
Okay. Because, see, actually, we don't have to root for the Tampa to get better because I looked it up.
Is it just by standing?
It's based on regular season standings.
All right, then never mind.
The only teams that change are the last four.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you get eliminated in the first 2 rounds, you place wherever you finish in the regular season. So it's got nothing to do when you. So we could have Tampa get to the second round, and it won't change where that pick falls.
So okay.
So go Tampa. Well, I know you're
losing the second round. Losing the second round, so you're not
right.
So you're not in the late.
I figure whoever wins that series gets Boston in the next round. After Boston's going to breeze through the Islanders or the Penguins or whoever the hell they play.
Yeah, that's true.
And those two teams, whoever wins is going to be walking wounded. And I think Boston's just going to easy pickings at that point. But you never know.
We'll see.
That's why the Stanley Cup playoffs are
wonderful.
They are very wonderful. Boston could lose for all we know.
So I think when we talk about the trade deadline and we see some people feeling like the Hawks didn't get enough, I think the Patrick Kane deal is probably the main reason for that. And if you haven't been with us all year, what's wrong with you? But I think as we were approaching this and as time was dragging on and as Patrick Kane was not making up his mind, we sort of knew, like, this is not going to be the big return that maybe we dreamed it was going to be 2-3 months ago. Yeah. Because ultimately Patrick Kane said Rangers or bust. And the Rangers said, well, we've kind of got you over a barrel here. There's not a whole lot you can do. You're gonna want to do right by Patrick Kane. And the Hawks were sort of left saying, all right, well, we got to trade him. We got to accept what we can. The fact that it can become a first is a bit of a consolation, but it just last night was weird. Being at the Hawks game last night, there was a palpable oddness around the building. And, they had the parking lot with the big 88 on it, the thank you 88 for fans to go in there and chalk it up. And they had the video tribute to him, and they had fans with banners saying thank you 88, and he wasn't there. And it was just a very, very strange feeling. And
they had no opportunity to do it, though. Rangers weren't coming to town the rest of the year. So if they were going to do it, might as well do it the first game he's officially gone. So, it's just a weird atmosphere. But whatever team he's on next season, the first game that team is in town, it is going to be Patrick Kane night all over again, and it's going to be done up probably a lot more than just a video tribute. It'll be it'll be something extra for sure.
Somebody asked me last night on Twitter, like, are they going to show that same video tribute when Patrick Kane's first came back? And I said, yeah, probably. He's not here tonight. It's going to be new to him. But and we do have the people that didn't get enough for Patrick Kane. As Jay mentioned, it was the Rangers or anything. Now, had Patrick Kane made up his mind and said, I want to go to the Rangers 3 weeks earlier, we could have got the Vladimir Tarasenko return, which was a first-round pick.
Right.
Yeah, and that was what the Rangers were expecting to need to give.
So if you're going to be mad at anybody for not getting the return you wanted for the Patrick Kane trade, it's be mad at Patrick Kane, not Kyle Davidson. He had no leverage. Yeah. And Kane waited and waited and waited. And if he wanted to go to the Rangers so bad, he should have said it 2-3 weeks earlier, and the Blackhawks could have got what the Blues got for Vladimir Tarasenko. So that's where we're at. And the return is disappointing, but that whole situation just went not the Blackhawks' way because Kane, within his rights, decided to wait and wait and wait. And it got to the point where it was like, well, take it or leave it. And they took it. Because at that point, you had to trade him. Like, you couldn't, you could have said no thanks, but no thanks. But then what does that do for you? Then you get nothing from Kane because Kane would have been mad that you didn't trade him, and there's no way this team was not bringing him back after this year. They've made that clear. So you got something for a guy that was going to leave for nothing no matter what. So it is what it is. If there was an open market and you could have traded him to any team, they would have gotten that big return. It just wasn't in the cards because of his contract. So, there's really not a lot of, if you're angry and mad that the Blackhawks didn't get enough for Patrick Kane, you can't be mad at Kyle Davidson for that.
Right.
And you can't really be mad at Patrick Kane. You could be upset that he didn't waive the clause sooner. But again,
it's his right.
It's his right. He could do whatever he wants. He earned that no movement clause. If there was anybody on this organization's history that earned the right to make that decision, it's Patrick Kane. So it is what it is. I know fans are upset that he's gone. It sucks, but it's a situation that dictated itself. Kane had all the power in this situation, and he certainly used it to get what he wanted. And Kane didn't care what the Hawks got back in return. It's not his business. He doesn't care. So he got what he wanted. That's what his contract dictated. It's over. He's in New York. And let's get on with our lives.
It's 2:02. The trade deadline has officially passed, but remember, many trades will trickle in past the 2 o'clock deadline. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you very much. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page. Please smash that like button for us. We would greatly appreciate that. And you know what else is really great and free? Tell a friend.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, chances are you're a big diehard Hawks fan. You know what? Let your other Hawks fan friends know about us. We're just about a year old. Tomorrow is CHGO's 1-year birthday.
Yeah.
And we've got, 26,000 some
over 26,000
YouTube subscribers
on YouTube.
Yeah,
and
we're doing great, and that's because of word of mouth from all of you and being here post games and all that stuff. Make sure also you go to allchgo.com and become a diehard. Why do you want to become a diehard? Well, very simple. You get access to our diehard only written content like our rebuild report. I know Adam Hogue does some special stuff for Bears. There's all sort of diehard only content on the website. You get 20% off the CHGO locker. You also get a free shirt or hat when you sign up. And then again, every year upon renewal, you'll save 20% on every event. That includes our tailgates. That includes our takeovers. Anything we do, you are saving on. So if you're a fan of CHGO, you want some merch, you want to come to an event, that membership pays for itself. Again, free shirt, 20% off a couple events, boom, it is paid for, and you're a diehard, and you get everything CHGO has to offer. So go to allchgo.com and join. Become a diehard today on the eve of our 1-year anniversary. And if you were a day one subscriber last year, your money's due. So just know that. I'm glad it's payday. It's Friday.
It's the
for a lot of people. So
it's
jump
the
in
4th
that.
of the month.
And our buddy Charlie the Bacon Guy points out we have our CHGO diehards happy hours. We just did one on Wednesday.
You could watch Charlie the Bacon Guy literally make the bacon.
Yeah, there you go. So, we're waiting for trades to roll in. I see that Chris Johnson says Van Riemsdyk was not traded.
We have a Blackhawks trade.
We do. Watch out.
Frank Saravalli, Austin Wagner to the Blackhawks for future considerations.
How many of these consideration kids are in the organization?
Their family got on the right helicopter.
Yeah.
Austin Wagner, 25 years old. He is a left winger, 6 foot 195. He has, with the Ontario Reign this year, 12 points in 24 games. He has played 171 NHL games and has 40 points. So you're talking about a bottom six kind of a guy. This could certainly be a guy to bolster what's happening in Rockford. I know that the Hawks are very focused on having the Ice Hawks go far in this year's playoffs. You look at the team they put together, even at the beginning of this year, they want the Ice Hawks to have a long Calder Cup experience. Lebowski 5 says, what league is the Ontario Reign? That is the American Hockey League, the same league as the Ice Hogs. That is the LA Kings affiliate. Really awesome name, by the way.
Ontario Reign,
REIGN. So, that's a guy who could sniff the NHL, but will probably be a guy to really bolster things down in Rockford. So there you have it. So there's the latest trade from Kyle Davidson. I see the Hurricanes are done for the day. I saw the Oilers are done for the day. Carolina's a team I thought would do more. I really did. I know they got Shane Gostisbehere. I know they got Jesse Puljujarvi. I don't know. I just think it's strange that they had that cap space from Max Pacioretty. I thought they would go out and get a real superstar type player. Not that they really need him.
Yeah.
But damn, that is a stacked Eastern Conference. They're as good as anybody but the Bruins, but I would have liked to see them, bolster their lineup a little bit because I want them to win, not Boston. I want
Carolina.
my beloved young son Tavo to win a cup.
Another one.
Yeah, we got a question in there about the future considerations. And what does that actually mean?
Future considerations is basically
Nothing.
a potential
sometimes it's
pick or prospect
or you'll
down
see
the road.
Yeah, or sometimes it's literally cash.
Yeah.
Or you'll see like an AHL only trade made that they may consider that.
We've
already seen that.
Yeah, that was what happened with Bjork.
Yeah, the Bjork was future considerations from the Sabres, and then we traded
Carson
Gasevich to the Rochester Americans, which is Buffalo's team. So sometimes it will be in the form of, okay, future considerations is going to be we'll trade an AHL only guy to your AHL team.
Think of it as like player to be named later.
Yeah, it's never anything good. No, well, I'm not gonna say that. It's never anything like major. It's usually an AHL guy or a 7th round draft pick. Or
it's like compensation.
Or we'll literally write you a check for $75,000. Here you go. Something like that. So Austin Wagner was a 30-goal scorer in the WHL, along with 85% of the league that year. But no, that's an accomplishment I couldn't do.
Jay, you read it. I wasn't listening. How old is Wagner?
25.
He is 25.
Cool.
He'll be 26 in June.
He will definitely help the Ice Hogs when he gets there.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we mentioned Joey Anderson and Reichel. They are on the transactions page. Anton Hudobin has been added to the transactions page. Still no sign of Cole Gutman. But again, we could see that later today be made official, just the way that the league processes things. I would be surprised if they said, here, stay with the NHL. I'd be very surprised by that. But they're getting a bunch of guys who are going to go to the Ice. Maybe he's a guy that they say, you know what, we're not going to make you stay in the AHL.
That would shock
you can
me.
earn yourself some more NHL game checks. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That feels a little backwards. I think that's what you said earlier. Like it just hasn't been processed yet.
Could be.
You know, because if you're going to acquire guys to make Rockford better, and then you're going to paper transact all the other guys, why would you? Gutman's probably, aside from Reichel, the best player of that bunch right now.
Yeah.
I think it makes the most sense to have him play. We'll see. We've got some time to find out. Darren Dreger says Brock Besser, JT Miller have not been traded by Vancouver.
Good job, guys.
So way to go, Canucks. What the hell are you doing?
Who are already over the salary cap for next season.
Yeah, I saw our friends from Center Ice say the Hawks should trade for Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's something that could happen in the offseason. That could be like a pre-draft sort of a thing.
Because they're going to eventually have to be cap compliant. Sheesh. Yeah, good luck there.
It's weird.
I mean, look, we talk about the pain of the tank and having to see the vision of the future and to buy into it. One of your alternatives is to be the Canucks, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a team not going to the playoffs and also spending above the ceiling. No interest in doing that.
I agree. Yeah, we're going to have our winners and losers of the trade deadline here before we end up. So,
yep,
we'll get into that.
The next one we need to get to for the Hawks, this was March 2nd, which was yesterday, which feels like a lifetime ago. Anders Bjork from Buffalo to Chicago for future considerations. This one
Bjork
piqued my interest a little bit. Bjork's got some NHL time.
Yeah.
He's been on good teams, good organizations for a while and just has been kind of blocked out. I don't know. I feel like that's a guy who, although he's 26, he's not a prospect by any means. I feel like he's a guy who could stick around and actually do some good things here. I'm assuming he'll be middle six for this team. He's not a fourth line.
There's really only so many places he could go.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a guy, he didn't have a chance there, maybe it's a swing at getting another Sam Lafferty type of player, a guy that wasn't making it where he was. He comes here, is given a chance, and he excels. He's got some experience, and look at this. According to Pierre LeBrun, John Klingberg traded to the Minnesota Wild.
Ooh.
So that makes you that explains the Jordan Greenway.
Opening up some money.
That's an interesting trade for them.
John Klingberg.
Hey, the West is open. The West is open.
Yeah, you just had to make minor moves in the West to make an impact because the East was where everyone wanted to go. So yeah, the West, if you wanted to be competitive, you got to do something like this. So hey, good on the Wild.
But
that's a swing.
Back to Bjork for the day. Anders Bjork, I look him up to go, okay, let's see. Like, he has to be, like, what are his numbers from the Swedish Hockey League? And I see that he was born in Wisconsin and played for Notre Dame.
Good old Mequon boy.
So,
Nice.
That's like Boris Kachuk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, he's not Russian?
Or Alex Galchenyuk.
Yeah, Alex Galchenyuk
It's
from
Wisconsin, too.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute here. Something's not right. That's not what I expected to see.
Yeah.
Our buddy Charlie Romeliotis reporting that the Hawks are done for the day after the Austin Wagner trade call goes through. So that means
Done.
Connor Murphy and Andreas Athanasiou remain Blackhawks. I think Athanasiou is really shocking one.
I'm surprised by that, but I think we'll hear from Davidson is he's apparently going to be 230 now. But we're probably in a similar situation as last deadline where it was Calvin DeHaan. We were shocked that he was still around, but I think it was we learned because it was, the price to acquire him was not met. So Davidson didn't just say, oh, well, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'll take anything I can get. Probably doing a Athanasiou maybe more of a solid and just saying, you know what, stick it out here. You don't have to move. You don't have to uproot. We're not going to just toss you away for future considerations or whatever. He can stick around. So that's surprising. I would have figured a team would have maybe ponied up a fourth, but I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, folks, before you get mad about guys that weren't traded, think of what you think of that player.
Sure. What's the same people that say, oh, my God, I can't believe you didn't trade Andreas Athanasiou are the same people that are like, you didn't get enough for Patrick Kane. And then they were like, what the hell are we going to do with that 6th-round pick in 2025?
Right.
Like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
If it's a little surprising that Athanasiou wasn't moved, but if there's no market, there's no market. And Connor Murphy, we would have heard some smoke around him if he was actually available.
It felt like McCabe or Murphy.
Yeah.
And then it became very clear it was McCabe.
They have to have some continuity and some NHL players on the roster for next year. Yeah. They have to. You can't go into next season with Seth Jones and a bunch of AHL
and
players.
The ragtime gang.
Like that's not fair to anybody.
Yeah, no.
As much as tank, they're doing fine tanking with the roster they have right now. By the way, a fun trade here.
I just saw it.
Frank Saravalli and others reporting the Flames are getting Troy Stetcher and Nick Ritchie in exchange for Connor Mackey and Brett Ritchie. So Nick and Brett, two brothers, traded for each other.
That's awesome.
I don't know if that's the first time that's happened, but it's...
I can't imagine.
I mean,
that's happened too often.
Was Brent Gretzky traded for Wayne Gretzky?
No, I don't think so.
Or what was Lindros? Was Lindros' brother? Didn't Lindros have a brother in the league?
Keith Gretzky.
Oh, I'm thinking of Primo.
Was it Brett Lindros?
Wayne and Keith Primo?
It was Wayne and Keith Primo, but it's Keith Gretzky, isn't it? It's Brent Lindros.
No, it's Brent Gretzky.
Brett Lindros.
Brett Lindros.
And Brent Gretzky.
Brent Gretzky.
The two highest scoring brothers in the history of the NHL.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Brent Gretzky's 1 point.
Well, I mean, the Sedins played with each other, so they never got traded. No, weren't they? They were technically traded at the NHL All-Star Draft. They were traded for each other.
Yeah, but were the Sutters ever involved in a trade for each other?
I don't know. There were 9 of them.
Yeah,
they had to be.
There had to be. I'm sure this isn't the first time, but I bet you it hasn't happened very often.
Lebowski 5 says Eric and Jordan Stahl. I don't think they were ever traded for each other.
Yeah.
Brent Gretzky, by the way, 13 NHL games and 4 points.
Hey,
he contributed to being part of the highest scoring brother tandem in NHL history.
That's almost as good as Jesse Puljujarvi's point per game.
There you go.
Just looking for anything else coming up. Yeah, Klingberg seems to be that. I think Klingberg is the biggest. That's the latest one, and yeah, I like Minnesota. I'm gonna go back and look at everything they've done. Kind of sneaky.
Yeah, I mean they got to go for it now.
Yeah, that's for damn
you,
sure.
you have no other financial choice other than to go for it now.
Let's see. They've got Oscar Sundqvist. They traded Greenway, but they got Klingberg.
Yep.
Gustav Nyquist they got.
Sure.
They got that was a 3-way trade. Yeah, I mean they've been active. I don't know. I don't know. I say the West is open. It's kind of hard. It's who wants to go lose to the East. Isn't that how the playoffs feel?
That's what it feels like.
Like
yeah.
who wants to go get their ass kicked? It's like when the Hawks and Kings played in 2014. It's like, all right, who's going to lose to the winner of this series?
Right, yeah.
Come on down, Rangers.
Yeah, the East final feels like it's going to be the Cup final. I know we all are saying like, oh, Avalanche. They got to get healthy, and I don't know if they are going to do it. It doesn't seem like they're going to get to full strength. So, the West seems like it's kind of up for grabs. We don't really know exactly what kind of playoff teams Winnipeg and Dallas are going to look like, what Edmonton and Calgary are going to do. It's pretty open, but it does feel like it's a bit of a substandard to the East this year.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be.
This seems like
the East playoffs are just gonna be
the deadline.
The only hope for the West is like, is it just like a war of attrition where everybody in the East is so banged up from all these incredible series that they're just going to be totally out of gas by the time the Cup final comes around?
I mean, you're going to have, as we mentioned, Toronto, Tampa in the first round. The Rangers are going to play either the Devils or the Hurricanes in the first round. And then whoever wins that will likely play, the Devils or the Hurricanes. So for the Rangers to get to the Eastern Conference Final, they got to beat the Devils and the Hurricanes in back-to-back rounds, most likely. Obviously, there could be an upset. For the Maple Leafs to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to have to beat Tampa, then Boston.
Likely.
Most likely. I don't know if that.
If you want to get to the Cup Final, you have to go through Boston, one way or another. That feels like an inevitability. So. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
good luck with that.
So whoever comes out of there is going to be coming in bruised up, banged up, not at 100%, but that's every year.
And that's something that I feel like, we just kind of used the example, like, oh, whoever won the Kings Blackhawks series in 2014 was going to win the Cup. As years have gone on, the stories of the injuries that 2014 Blackhawks team finished that postseason run with, maybe it wasn't such a sure thing if that puck didn't bounce off Nick Leddy and go in for the Kings. Maybe it's not such a certainty because that was still a tough Rangers team. But yeah, I mean, you might be in a situation where whoever gets out of the East might be like dragging themselves to the Cup final, and who knows? We'll see it. It's going to be so much fun. And we had someone on our YouTube page last night. Asked the question, hey, are you guys going to do shows during the playoffs? Because I know the Hawk season will be over. Yep. 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, my friend.
Never stops.
Yep. We were with you all last offseason. We'll be with you all this offseason.
All through the playoffs.
We'll recap this season. We'll do player grades for all the players. We'll definitely do a ton of draft previewing this year. We'll talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then, once the draft is over, we can start doing fun stuff like favorite barbecue plates and favorite sports movies and whatever
Johnson
the hell
drafts.
you guys want to talk to.
I know we gotta sign some Johnsons in the off season. We don't have as many now.
Yeah. Well, we still got 3 here on set.
The Schlong
4
brothers
included.
Let's take a look at the Western Conference and see if we can convince ourselves that any of these teams can win the Cup. Your Central Division leaders, Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado. Your Pacific Division leaders, Vegas, LA, Seattle. Right now, your 2 wildcard teams are Edmonton and Winnipeg, with the Calgary Flames 5 points behind Winnipeg for that next spot.
It's my pick.
The only team I can make an argument for is Colorado, but they've got to get healthy, and they have not been healthy all year.
I wouldn't.
I think Man,
I don't believe in Dallas at all.
I think with a less than 100% Colorado team, I think Edmonton. If it's not this year for McDavid and Draisaitl in that group, I don't know when it will be.
I was just going to say the same thing. This could be the year that Edmonton makes that run to the Cup final. And as we just mentioned, that Eastern Conference team could be just obliterated. This could be the year that everybody's like Boston, Toronto. What if it's the year that Edmonton finally does it?
Hey.
I still don't trust their goaltending,
No.
but, you know,
They added, who's the defenseman they added?
the Ekholm.
Ekholm. I thought Matthias Ekholm.
It's better than
that's-
any defenseman they've had in the playoffs
yeah,
for the
but-
last.
But they did. But
So-
Better than nothing.
They didn't do, but that's all they did.
But what
I
else
mean,
did they really need?
yeah, they really didn't have to
They
do
can
a
score 7 goals a night.
ton.
I guess.
They need to stop the other team from
Yeah,
scoring
play
8.
your top 6 30 minutes a night and
Not every
have a
team
little
needs
bit better
to
defense.
add a superstar. You don't need to add a superstar at the trade deadline when you already have 3 superstars on your team.
Right.
I mean, the Rangers are like, let's just try and get all the best players from 5 years ago and see what happens. Edmonton may have done, I would have rather. And come to think of it, when was the last time we had a trade deadline where no goaltenders were traded? Not of any significance. No offense, Anton Khudobin.
Jonathan Quick.
Not of any significance.
Yeah.
Jonathan Quick if Jonathan Quick getting traded in 2013 is like, holy crap.
Yeah,
Jonathan
it's by
Quick
name.
now is like, eh.
It's by name.
Yeah, and he wasn't a guy that was on the market. Him getting traded was a big surprise
It's true.
to him too.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of the playoffs, we are. If the playoffs started today, first round matchup, Kings versus Jonathan Quick and the Vegas
That
Golden
would be
Knights. That would be
fun.
awesome. And then watch Jonathan Quick give up 6 goals a night. Yeah, but there was no big goalie traded this time around. Last year was Marc-Andre Fleury was the big goalie on the market.
Gone before our show started.
It seems to be a trend. Ever since CHGO was a thing, the Blackhawks get all their trades done well ahead of time. Korpisalo was traded. Yeah, that's right. He was part of that. But again, like, there's no marquee goalie. I wouldn't call him a marquee goalie, but, he's going to be the Kings. I would assume he's the Kings' number 1 going in there, but
Yeah.
Or is it
We'll see.
Phoenix Copley?
Phoenix Copley. I mean, he's been the hot
It's
hand.
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Phoenix. That's how he spells it. He doesn't spell it Phoenix. It's Pheonix Copley.
PHNX Copley.
PHX Golf.
Phoenix. Pheonix.
Oh.
That's
Phoenix
not
is
Phoenix.
Phoenix is one of those words I never spell right.
Yeah, I always spell Phoenix that way. And then
That's wrong.
and then my
That's not how
computer's-
you spell
can't
Phoenix.
read
how
it
I
from here.
spell it. But that's not how the rest of the word spells it.
Maybe he had trouble spelling it as a kid, and they said, just go with that.
Yeah, fine. E
I can't
before
teach
O,
you
except
anymore,
after
kid.
C. Just like Jackson Stauber, Jaxson.
JX.
I always love to and we'll get into this as the draft approaches, the ridiculous names of children born in the 2000s with
Yeah.
Y's and X's everywhere,
Yeah. Those WHL names.
and
they're
all
great.
the Wyatts. All the Wyatts.
Wyatts. Wyatts have replaced Connors.
Yeah.
Connors were huge
Yeah.
for a while there, and now it's Wyatts.
Connors are still huge.
Well, the
what
final
she said.
significant Blackhawks trade we have to talk about went down late last night after the Hawks and Stars game wrapped up. Max Domi and Dylan Wells to the Dallas Stars for goaltender Anton Khudobin and the Stars 2025 second-round pick. Khudobin is with Rockford, and he's been with Texas all year in the AHL. So unless there's a goalie injury, I would imagine you will not see Khudobin play a game for the Hawks this year. He is an unrestricted free agent after the season, so that was basically just to make the money work because the Stars had buried cap money because of Khudobin that they needed to move to take on Domi.
Yeah.
And then the
he's-
Ice Hawks didn't want 78 goalies.
Yeah, and he's Hudobin's making I think $3.3 million cap hit. His minor league salary this year is $3.75 million. So they're not even like getting a buried cap discount off it. Like they're paying him $3.75 million to be an AHL goalie. So yeah, that's how you make the money work on that end. And yeah, I mean, so for you shore up backup goalie in the NHL, third goalie in the NHL if you need it. You allow Stauber and Soderblom to, kind of take the reins and rotate with Hudobin a little bit in the AHL and keep them a little bit more fresh. That's totally fine. And then, you get a second for Domi. It's not the worst, deal that could have been made. I know we had been hoping for a first round pick and saying, anything less than a second wouldn't be worth it. So there's the second. It's in 2025, and we talked about it at the onset of the show. It really seems like he is the exception to the rule that most people don't re-sign with the team that they were traded from. So if you get a second for Max Domi and then he comes back in the summer, that is quite the GMing from Kyle Davidson to basically get a second for free, and then you get the player back that you traded. Yeah. So if that ends up being the case, it's wonderful. If the deal is all it is and Domi goes in free agency, you still come out with a second round pick that's very useful one way or another. So it's not a bad deal whatsoever.
So now that this is all done, the trade deadline is passed after we've been talking about it for 8 months or whatever it's been, looking forward to this day. Here's everything that the Hawks got. A first round pick, 4 seconds, 2 fourths, Vili Jarvi, I got to get that name, Andreas Englund, Anton Hudobin, Nikita Zaitsev, Andy Walensky, Joey Anderson, Pavel Gogolev, Anders Bjork, and Austin Wagner. And they have sent Patrick Kane, Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty, Max Domi, Jack Johnson, Cooper Zek, Dylan Wells, and 2 fifth-round picks. If you look at their draft assets for the next 3 years in the first 3 rounds, 2023, first round, they have 2. Second round, they have 4. Third round, they have 2. In 2024, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. 2025, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third. So over the next 3 years, they've got 6 first-round picks, 8 second-round picks, and 5 third-round picks.
That's how you do it.
That is how. Think about this. Like, it's just over a year since Kyle Davidson took over officially. We're just over a year.
Yeah.
Was it October of
full time?
Full time, right?
Full time was in.
Yes, it was
February-ish.
March 1st.
Was it March 1st?
March 1st. Remember we talked about that. We were sitting here
building
office chairs, listening to the conference.
That's right. Yeah.
Going, don't give Rocky Wirtz the microphone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, officially March 1st. That's right.
March 1st.
Yep. So, I mean, that's a lot. And you saw, The Athletic published their top prospect systems, and the Hawks jumped from number 22 last year to number 5.
25. 25 to 5.
Yep. And they have got 3 of the top 25 prospects in the league in Korchinski, Nazar, and Reichel, according to The Athletic. Whoever they draft, be it Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Leo Carlson, Matvei Michkov, that player immediately becomes their number 1 prospect. Whoever they're going to get with the Tampa pick will probably move into their top 3 or 4 prospects as well. So it's a good start. And I know for Hawks fans it feels tough because we just read off the list of who came and who went. The list of who went is an impressive list of players.
Yeah.
Those are good hockey players, and really the last good hockey players the Hawks have left aside from Seth Jones and Connor Murphy, right? The guys that are gone, it's a tough pill to swallow, but what I respect about Davidson, and whether or not this works remains to be seen, of course. Draft picks are lottery tickets, but there's a plan. There is a solid plan. He's sticking to it. He is making difficult moves, and to me, it takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to pull off what Kyle Davidson's doing, because it's hard to trade an icon like Patrick Kane and to trade fan favorites like Max Domi and Jake McCabe and Sam Lafferty, but he did it.
And he was probably going to trade Jonathan Toews.
Oh, for sure.
Well, we have not mentioned Jonathan Toews yet, and I want to mention that. But first, I want to read something I saw. This was emailed to me, and I also saw Mike Johnson of the NHL analyst. He's with NHL Network and other places. A hit rate for the draft. This is from years 2004 to 2014, and they've got 2 categories. There's NHL regular and NHL star. So picks 1 through 5, 95% of them become NHL regulars. 50% of them become NHL stars. Picks 6 to 10, 80-20. Picks 11 to 20 are 65-10. Picks 21 to 30, 57. 31 to 45, 30%, 3%. 46 to 60, 20%, 2%. And then third round is 15-2. Round 4 is 15-1. Similar between 3 and 4, which I thought was interesting. And 5 and 6 are 10% and 1%, 10%, 0%. So, first rounders are a little more sure things than I sort of imagined. And look, they're not all going to be superstar players, but if you can turn in, the next few years of draft picks, you got 6 over the next 3 years. If 4 of those guys become solid NHL regulars and 2 are NHL stars, that's a really, really good start, especially when they've got nothing but cap space and they'll have more. You're going to see them, just like they did this summer, sign some veterans to trade at the deadline again. It's going to be the same deal next year. So,
yeah, you could focus on the guys that left, and there's good names there. Obviously, Patrick Kane, legend with the franchise, McCabe. Those are good players, but they're not part of any kind of long-term play. They don't fit the plan. They've served their purpose. They've got more assets for the future. So, Davidson's a trading machine right now, but that will change as things, progress, and these prospects eventually start becoming NHL players, hopefully good NHL players. So he's going to make, if they don't make any more trades over the next couple years for first-round picks, Kyle Davidson's going to make 9 first-round picks in his first 4 years as general manager. He who shall not be named had 12 drafts as general manager. He made 12 first-round picks. Not saying one is better than, obviously more is better than, but just to put you into perspective. And yes, the last regime, he was in the market for trading away first round picks instead of acquiring them. I get that, but you just see,
gave away one to get Seth Jones.
Yeah, he's trying to build through the draft, and that is how you have to do it. You have to do it. You cannot build. You can maybe build a team that makes a run to a Stanley Cup final, maybe even wins a Stanley Cup for one season through free agency and trades. But if you want that sustained success, you want that 2010s team back where you are a favorite for 6-7 years in a row, you have to do it through the draft. You can't build that type of team
hopefully longer
just by getting each top free agent every year. Ask Vegas how that's working for them.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they've been doing since day one. They had they had their first year, they made it to the final. What have they done since except spend money and get rid of all their draft cap? That franchise is going to be a freaking nightmare in a couple of years.
The collapse is starting.
They're in first place in the Pacific right now, but
they don't win a Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah, that's it.
And they're not winning a Stanley Cup this year. Sorry.
And this, in this kind of to swing this back to the Hawks, the people that don't like this rebuild, we have challenged all year to say, give us an alternative.
Still waiting.
And the alternative is last year. When you trade for Seth Jones and you trade for Marc-Andre Fleury and you sign Jake McCabe and you make all these headlines before the year begins, and you had the worst coach in modern hockey history maybe behind the bench, and maybe things would have been a little different with Luke Richardson, but, whatever. You can't middle this thing, or else you're the Nashville Predators, or else you're the Minnesota Wild, or else you're the, one of these teams that just has no real vision. Like, look at what Vancouver's doing. Would you rather have a situation like that, or would you rather be where the Hawks are, where, it's going to be tough for a couple years, but you can see the light at the end of the tunnel if you're paying attention. If you're truly paying attention to not just what's happening from, 7:30 till 10:30 every night at the United Center or on the road, and looking at the system, looking at the prospects, looking at what's happening in Rockford, the light at the end of the tunnel is there. It's far away. It's a distant light, but it's certainly there, and I think the approach is sound. Again, my only criticism, we're going to get to our grades here in a little bit, would be I would like a couple more prospects brought in instead of only picks. I like picks, but some prospects would have been nice too. But when you look at the scope of the trade deadline, not a ton of legitimate prospects removed.
No.
It's a lot of guys, kind of like you saw the Hawks acquiring, to make salaries fit and to make, roster numbers fit and things like that. There haven't been any really big name prospects moved at the deadline. So I don't know. It's interesting. All right, we're going to talk about Jonathan Toews up next because we haven't gotten to it yet at all. Please smash that like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel as well. We would greatly appreciate that. If you're listening to the podcast after we did the show live, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast and following, and do us a trade deadline favor as we're doing a 2-hour show after a post game last night. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We would greatly appreciate that as well. We want to tell you that DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of CHGO and All City. They've got those awesome NBA no sweat same game parlays. Major League Baseball is here. It is right around the corner. Get those futures in. Bet your division winners. Guess your home run winners. Cy Young. All those things. You can bet all those MLB futures on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I am at a zero balance. I'm very glad it's payday. I'm going to reload my account to get me through the rest of hockey season because, boy, I have been really screwing the pooch lately, and I put my last $1.47 on same-game parlay for Artemi Panarin and Patrick Kane to score in last night's game, and they didn't, and the Ottawa Senators played spoiler, and they won at Madison Square Garden to Greg's delight.
I enjoyed the hell out of that.
We're going to get Greg 31 NHL hats, except the Rangers, so he can just wear it whenever the Rangers play.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few.
You skip the Toronto
All
one.
right, you wouldn't wear Toronto. You wouldn't wear Vegas.
Wouldn't wear Vegas. Wouldn't wear
Blues.
St. Louis.
Wow, you're saving us a lot of
Would
money.
you wear a Red Wings hat?
No.
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 All right. We'll
Is that
whittle
it?
it down to like 5.
Okay, fine. 5 teams.
It's going to be like 2.
5 teams. That's fine. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code CHGO when you sign up. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. And now, as it's Thursday, it is time.
It's show 4.
Show 4.
Damn it, it's show 4. I don't know what day it is anymore.
That's why we have the new system. You just need to know what
used to be
what
our
show
Thursday
number it
bit,
is.
but now
It's
it's
show
just show
4, which means nothing to the listener.
Is that anything like
show number
Some people got
4
excited
of the
and thought we
week.
said show feet.
Show feet. Show 4.
Show 4.
I'll show
4.
feet for 100 likes.
Show 4 feet. Hey, we might. I was gonna say we have
100
that.
more likes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
we need 261 likes. And I'll take my shoes off.
Please
That's fine. But it is time for the
closest to
DraftKings
you.
pick of the week. And
It
I'm not
is.
doing it because I'm broke and no one wants my advice.
That's fine. Yeah, DraftKings pick of the week. I will do the honors this week. What I love about DraftKings is they have these quick same game parlays. So they build a parlay out for you for each night's competition, and these are not just randomly thrown together. They are educated parlays put together by the good people at DraftKings to make betting more fun and more easy for you. And what I like about them is they have fun little names for the same game parlays. So tonight I'm looking at NHL action. We got Winnipeg taking on Edmonton. We got New Jersey taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. I believe that's the game. But they got fun little same game parlays. You got the multi-goal GOAT same game parlay, which is Connor McDavid to score 2 or more goals, Edmonton to score over 3.5 goals and to win. That's paying out at plus 500.
Sounds like easy money.
You got the Para Jacks bet, which is Jack Hughes to score, Jack Eichel to score, and the over in that game at over 6.5. So you got some fun. You got some fun little bets there. I am going to advise you, and Greg already said it. The multi-goal GOAT bet on Connor McDavid to score 2 or more goals tonight. The Oilers themselves to score over 3.5 and to win against Winnipeg. Again, that's paying out at plus 500. I'm going to say that is the pick of the week, as McDavid has 5 straight games scoring at least 2 goals or more. The NHL record is 6. And I was texting with a friend of mine today, and he was like, holy smokes, guy. Like, I have not been paying attention enough to how incredible McDavid has been this year, and I said, yeah, it's kind of being underappreciated how crazy of a season he's having to modern day standards. Like, when his career is over, I would love to see. I think it's Hockey Reference and probably some other analytics based people and sites do this, but his era adjusted points compared to like Gretzky and how close that they finish. Because it's going to be close. Because when you take in the factor of era adjusted, whereas Gretzky played where goaltending was a lot different than it is now.
They were plumbers.
Yeah, and some guys had to have extra jobs. I feel like McDavid is going to be very close to those point totals when his career is all said and done. So yeah, take that DraftKings same game parlay and take it to the bank.
Yep. Alex Ovechkin is breaking Wayne Gretzky's records just so Connor McDavid could break Alex Ovechkin's records at some point.
That could happen.
Hey, if you like winning money from DraftKings,
that'd be nice.
You know what's just as fun as winning money?
Spending money.
Saving money.
Oh.
And our friends at ComEd are here to help you save money and energy. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. ComEd offers a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across our territory. Size does not matter when it comes to ComEd. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor-outdoor lighting and networked lighting controls, making these projects even more cost-effective than they've ever been. So visit ComEd.com/poweringbiz, B-I-Z, now to start saving money and energy. To start a project, you can contact ComEd over at 855-433-2700. Or for more information, email businessee@comed.com or publicsectoree@comed.com. Energy efficiency.
All right, we've got a poll question going. Steven, you want to give the question and the results for us? We got to get Steven some mic time. He's been working his ass off for us today.
Thank you, by the way.
Of course.
What grade would you give Kyle Davidson at the trade deadline? A, B, C, and then we only have 4 options, so D or F is our 4th option. Right now, it is B taking it with 58% of the vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
A's in second with 27.
Interesting.
Okay.
So pretty positive.
How many said D or F?
Only 5%.
Okay.
All right.
I know who those people are.
You know what? I would agree with that result. I would say my grade for Davidson would be in the B range. I think he set out a goal at this deadline and accomplished it well enough to where, what do you walk away thinking, maybe there could have been 1 or 2 pieces a little bit better, a little extra. Yes, but you also don't want him to go out there and try and overdo things to where, he's working with other GMs and they say, well, you know what, you're asking for too much, I'm gonna move on.
Right.
So I think he did a fine job. Nothing wrong with what he did at the deadline. I give him a B.
Yeah, I'll also give him a B. He's adding more draft capital. It's obvious that he has a vision on how he's going to rebuild this team, and he's just progressing in that vision. And that's all I want from my general manager, is to have a plan and to think beyond this year. And he's obviously doing that by acquiring draft picks in 2024 and 2025. He's thinking ahead. He thought a little bit ahead last year with the whole burn the first year of Lucas Reichel's contract.
Yeah.
We were all like, I don't understand why you're doing this, but he probably feels, and the team feels, that like we could get to that first year of UFA quicker and hopefully
cheaper.
Exactly. Bingo.
Yeah,
that's so they have a vision. some of the returns a little disappointing, but nothing that I'm outraged over. I don't think he got hosed on anything. He did a good job. He got what the market was out there for it. Yes, other teams got more for other guys, but dealing with teams that are a little more desperate, you can get a Tanner Jeannot haul. Mm-hmm. Tampa's insane. Every other general manager will tell you that. So yeah, I'll give it a B. Listen, these draft classes coming up are going to be huge for this rebuild. That's what he's building this team on, and he's got himself a ton of picks over the next couple of years. So I'll give him a B.
Put that back up. No roids, just rage. Given a B plus, possibly an A minus. No roids. We're going to call you out. You're with us every show, and we love you for it. But there were weeks and months where you're like, he's going to screw this up. He's not going to trade anybody. It's over. Kyle Davidson doesn't know what he's doing. He gets a B plus, A minus from No Roy's Just Rage. I absolutely love it. That is what fandom's all about.
Yep.
And I live for it, man. Thank you for being here all year. And I just love that. After all that, here's where we're at.
He has been taking us on his roller coaster ride all season long, and we appreciate it.
I, too, am going to give a B for reasons I've stated earlier in the show. I would have liked to see a prospect back. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know who it is, but instead of like a bunch of Joey Andersons and guys that really aren't going to be anything better than what they are, I would have liked to see a younger, B, C level prospect that maybe the Hawks can work with and develop and turn into something at the NHL level. Maybe that's Joey Anderson. Maybe it's Anders Bjork, but both those guys are a little bit older, so I doubt it. I would have liked to see someone 21, 22, that age range come in, but otherwise for the assets he had, I think if we sort of dissect everything, you got a first for McCabe. You got a second for Lafferty. You got a conditional first for Kane. It's probably going to be a second, fine, but you got a conditional first for Kane. You got a second for Max Domi. If we look at this at the beginning of this year, when Max Domi signs and we're talking about all the possibilities, you probably say, okay, that feels about right. Mm-hmm. And just to mention this, by the way, when John Klingberg signed with the Ducks on July 1st, we all said, wow, that is a great move for Anaheim. They're going to flip him at the deadline, probably get a first-round pick. The Wild are giving the Ducks a fourth-round pick in 2025. Andre Schuster, fine. The rights to Nikita Nesterenko, who's at Boston College right now. The Ducks are retaining half of Klingberg's salary.
They got nothing.
So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just Davidson who is not blowing the doors off with these. And Klingberg, to be honest, has not had a great season with Anaheim. That is true. He is not the Klingberg. Wasn't he just hurt,
too?
What's that?
Wasn't he just hurt?
I think so,
yeah. Sure. So, and that's a factor as well. But, look, you can only, with the hard cap, and this is something maybe we don't think about enough. With the hard cap, there's only so many teams that are buyers. And those buyers don't have a lot of cap space.
Yeah.
So it becomes incredibly complicated to pull off these deals, and there's very few teams that are just willing to abandon their futures. Tampa will, but there's very few other teams that are willing to.
That is one
that are going to abandon their futures to add a piece at the deadline.
And that's why you see a lot of the bigger trades happen at the draft.
Yes.
Because you have more time to negotiate, and then the teams that have the cap issues have more time to resolve it. They've got another 3 months to make moves before the season starts. So that's why the NHL draft has actually become better for big trades than the deadline.
And, and keep that in mind, because I know I'm going to put one in the jar. I'll get you guys. Keep that in mind. Come draft time, that maybe this Alex Turcotte smoke might get a little thicker around draft time.
Maybe.
Sure.
I'll say that from discussions I've had.
And we have a former Blackhawk in the news.
Hey.
The Rangers have acquired Anton Bleed, cool name, Blidh, from the Avalanche in exchange for forward Gustav Rydal, and have acquired Wyatt Kalnick from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations. Man, he's on the move.
Oof.
He's traded almost as much as Max Domi.
Ouch.
Almost.
Jeez.
I'm looking for Kyle Davidson. I don't.
Kyle
think he's-
Davidson is speaking to the media
about right now.
currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were told that he is walking up the stairs.
Yes.
So here we go.
Well, let's talk about Jonathan Toews before we hear from Davidson.
Yep.
I know you said you saw him yesterday at the rink.
He was at the game yesterday.
He's been skating. Was not on the ice at practice today.
Has he been skating? Because I last I heard from
Or working out. Maybe
Richardson
is
is
the
that
better
he's
word.
working out, but
Working
not
yeah.
on the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've seen Jonathan Toews play his last game.
Yeah, I agree. But here's a little interesting thing. Cole Gutman was not paper assigned to Rockford, so he's not
Interesting.
eligible for the AHL playoffs per Kyle Davidson. So
Well, I'm
he's an
changing mine to
NHLer.
a B minus.
He's an NHLer.
I don't
mean,
get that
wait,
at all.
Well,
it's puzzling, but all the guys that they just got to send to Rockford, I mean,
you got Rocco Grimaldi.
How you doing? Sorry, Mario. That was offensive.
So yeah, I mean, again,
I don't care.
Hey,
Whatever.
you know what? Good for Cole Gutman. That means he's an NHL player now.
yeah, keep
Yeah. Hey,
He's made the team.
keep signing those NHL game checks.
can we get him an NHL number? Now that he's an NHL
Is 70
player,
not good enough?
70.
Dennis Rasmussen,
70 is a bad number in every
It's a
sport.
preseason number.
Tanner Pearson.
Tell me a good number 70 in the history of sports.
There's got to be an offensive lineman that was good
No,
somewhere.
that's a trash number.
70 is like what you when you tune into like one of those Saturday afternoon spring training games and the pitcher is wearing number 70. That's what it is.
There you
Yeah,
go.
with
no name on the back.
Right.
Yeah,
no, yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now playing shortstop, number 70, Guy Ledouche.
That would be a hockey player. By the way, yes, Reichel was sent down, Philip.
Yes.
It was
Yes, he
a
was.
paper
Reichel and
transaction, but
Anderson.
yes,
Reichel,
Reichel.
yep.
Yeah.
Cini,
But there's
Gust, and Phillips were all physically actually sent down. So.
Now, I'm curious to see what Davidson says. Is Reichel here until the playoffs? Because boy, I would at least like to see
I'm
something.
sure
I'd
that
like to
that-
see have something to watch for the rest of the
Sure
year.
that question will be asked, but
yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, good for Gutman. I think he's earned it the way he's played, and like I said, I think the Ice Hogs, their roster was addressed enough to where if you're gonna say one of these guys is gonna stick around because we want to reward somebody, I'm fine with it being him, because you could say like, oh, keep Reichel up, but Reichel's your best player for the Ice Hogs, so allow him to play. The whole reason that he was kept down in the minors all season was to be in this position to play for the Ice Hogs when the games mattered most. So he'll go back down eventually and be a factor for the playoffs. But Gutman, and no disrespect to him, but with the guys they brought in, he's replaceable at the AHL level. So allow him to ride out the rest of the season at the NHL level and take your summer off.
Yeah.
Not
He's
bad.
an
Not-
NHL player
I'm
now.
not mad about it.
And he's a little older.
It's fine, and those reasons are valid. I get what you're saying, but God forbid, Lucas Reichel blows a knee out, or Joey Anderson breaks his jaw, or like I don't know. Why not? What is the damage of it? Like what is?
Yeah.
I would like to know. Okay, fine. You want him to be an NHL player? Great, but why not just send him down today, and in case you have to send him down for whatever reason, you can.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. I'm sure there's more to it, and hopefully we've been asking for an interview with Kyle Davidson all season. Hopefully we get one soon. And that's a question I would like to ask him directly because I don't know. If it's just a paper transaction, why not?
Maybe there's roster limits to it. I know.
Just based on what we know about Davidson, it is safe to assume there's something we are unaware of.
Yeah.
So it
be.
probably makes sense if asked a question, but for what in my level of knowledge right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But Davidson is not an idiot. I think that's pretty clear. So, all right, let's talk a little. By the way,
Yeah.
Chris Dubiel. I'm
He's
gonna
your
send him.
AHL guy.
I'm gonna send him some CHGO stuff because he reminded me. Alexei Zhamnov wore number 70 in an All-Star game. Yes, he did.
Oh, there you
Thank
go.
you. And then Christopher Hill says Joe Madden wore number 70. Also correct.
Ah.
But Chris, DM me on Twitter, and I'm going to send you some CHGO swag for reminding me that one of my favorite and most disrespected players in Blackhawks history, Alexei Zhamnov, wore number 70.
Chris can wear his CHGO swag at the Wolves as he's doing the fine job as the PA announcer for the
Yep.
Wolves. Or wear it under next time he has to fill in for Gene Honda.
Sure.
There you go. Yep. All right.
We were talking about
So
Taves.
has Taves played his last game as a Hawk?
I think so.
I think so.
Sucks.
I'm hopeful for his health that he can come back before the final game of the season, because it'll be a sign, I think, that he would be at a place where he feels like he can get back on the ice, get back into an NHL game, and his body will be able to handle it. If he only suits up for the final game of the home season, that's going to feel icky. But it might be the only way that he gets sent off. And if that's the case, I don't think he plays. I don't think he plays again. We'll see. His body's telling him something that I think he's trying to wrap his mind around.
Yeah.
I hate to speculate about that kind of health concern, but it just seems like his body is starting to tell him that being in the NHL is going to be harder than it used to be. So.
Yep, I just want Jonathan Taves to take care of Jonathan Taves. Would I love to see him get a couple of victory laps at the United Center? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
bottom line is, I want Jonathan Taves to be here as a human being for a long time. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You've done everything you possibly could do. You have nothing to
Absolutely.
prove to anybody anymore, be it here or in the NHL. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer. You're going to have a statue at the United Center one day. Take care of yourself. You've earned it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just sucks. You know, it's not
how you imagine
at least
either of these
Kane,
guys going out.
even though the goal didn't count, Kane had that final electrifying moment at the United Center.
Can't take that away from my heart.
Yeah, right? Like, it still happened. I still felt that in that moment.
Yep.
And it was unforgettable. And it's just a shame that Jonathan Taves, his body has betrayed him so much that he's not going to get the proper send-off.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem that way, no.
It's not the ending we imagined for either of those guys.
Yeah.
When they signed those big contracts, we figured they're here, they're Hawks for life.
Yeah.
And Taves, well, may end up being, a career-long Blackhawk, but just not going out on his terms. And Kane is going to finish his career elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what we envisioned, but how often do things in sports go exactly how we envision?
Never.
And how often do you see
Except Hossa.
single team players anymore? In all sports, really.
Well, only if you play for Pittsburgh, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's
Then
give
you have to
our
live in
draft
Pittsburgh.
winners and losers, and then we're going to wrap up this trade deadline spectacular. Again, thanks everybody for being with us.
Spectacular.
It was great.
great.
I know that kind of anticlimactic after the last few weeks of
It's
the
kind
Hawks
of
have been
nice
really active.
that it wasn't super stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would have been fun to have some craziness. But whatever.
Yeah. Well,
It's fine.
Hey, we still got draft lottery night. That's gonna be
Hey,
that's gonna be
draft-
hella
God.
crazy.
Yes. Between now and whenever that happens, first week of May, that's
I'm
going to be
gonna throw up.
interesting.
I'm already going to throw up.
yeah, the heart rate is going to spike
Yeah.
on
I'm
my
gonna
face.
vomit
That
from
bur-
now
that
until
burrito is,
then.
like right here.
Yeah.
Just-
All that whole day is going to be a nightmare until it's over.
All right, let's do our draft winners and losers. My winner is the New York Rangers. They went out and got two dynamic scorers. Greg said two of the best players from 5 years ago. I think that's true, but
Prove
that's
me wrong.
a pretty good team that got a lot better. And, Patrick Kane shines the brightest on the big stage. I'm really looking forward to see what happens to him as the season goes on and kind of beyond. Like, I don't know if the Rangers have room for him next year. So where does Patrick Kane end up?
I don't know.
It remains to be seen. But boy, it's the Rangers went out there. They got Tarasenko. They got Kane. They got it done, and I'm excited to watch them. Yeah. All right. Who's your winner, Greg?
It's gonna pain me to say this, but it's not a team that's gonna be going to the playoffs. But I'm gonna give the St. Louis Blues the nod for winning the trade deadline, for retooling on the fly here. They traded away Ryan O'Reilly and Vladimir Tarasenko, two of their biggest contributors to their Stanley Cup win, their captain in O'Reilly. But they got 2 first-round picks, second-round pick, third-round pick. They reloaded, and they traded away Ivan Barbashev to get Zach Dean, who's still, one of those type of prospects I think we wanted to see here.
Top prospect, yeah.
So they were able to bring in some guys, and then they brought in Kapanen because they have the room. But when you look at that team, they're locked in for a while. Their core is signed for at least 3 seasons. Braden Shen, Pavel Buchnevich, Brendan Saad, Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas. On the back end, you still have Justin Falk, Torrey Krug, Nick Leddy, Colton Parayko. They're all there. They added Jacob Verana at the deadline
For nothing,
and he'll be there next year. They've got a solid team. They were able to get guys that weren't coming back next year and get 2 first rounds. So now you're going to be able to add some more prospects, more young players through the draft this year to add to this core you have. All they really need is a new head coach and maybe a goalie, and they might have something.
They're doing what the Blackhawks
should have done
and should have done around the 2017-18 season.
That's good GMing by the St. Louis Blues. It pains me to say it because I don't like that organization, but they've got a good plan going on there. Will it work out? Who knows? But they're my trade deadline winners.
Super chat from Windy City Hockey. Thanks for the $2. Yes, Gutman did not get sent down for the AHL playoffs. That is, we talked about that just recently. We're all puzzled, but that is not going to be happening for old goal Gutman. My winner is it's funny we're flanking Greg with the 2 teams he hates the most,
and I picked one of the teams.
And you picked the Blues. My winner were the Toronto Maple Leafs. You get the aforementioned Ryan O'Reilly. You bring in Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty to a roster that is already very deep, very dangerous. They're trying to build themselves to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is a good recipe to try and advance in the Eastern Conference Finals or Eastern Conference playoffs as a whole. So good luck to them. Any team getting Jake McCabe is a winner in my book. So Toronto Maple Leafs
and Sam Lafferty,
go do the thing. Go do the thing and get out of the first round.
There you go. All right, now for
and
the
Noel
losers.
Acciari too, as Philip mentioned.
Yeah, they did a great job. There's no question about that. I think Kyle Dubas, lame duck GM, learned his lesson when he's like, well, I don't want to give up a first for Marc-Andre Fleury. All right. There you go.
Hey,
now he knows his job's on the line.
He was giving up draft picks he may never need. So.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Now for the losers. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Penguins just because I don't really understand what they're doing. I don't understand the plan. They acquire Nick Bonino today. Okay. They trade Brock McGinn for Dmitry Kulikov. Okay. They trade a 2nd-round pick for Michael Granlund. Do any of those guys move the needle? They make them a little bit deeper, but we spent a lot of the show talking about the Eastern Conference. This does not make the Penguins a contender. None of these moves make the Penguins contenders. I just don't understand what Ron Hextall is doing there. And maybe it's from his days when he was a Flyers goalie and he's just trying to stick it to the Penguins. Like it's the long play for Ron Hextall.
Play,
He's going to go out giving double birds when he gets fired. Like, I did this on purpose. I don't know. I just don't get it. You could say the same about the Canucks. I don't understand the vision. And like we said, it's very reminiscent of what He Who Shall Not Be Named would do.
Nice to be on the other side of that.
Yeah, where you're just like, what does this accomplish? Like, okay, these are guys I've heard of. Great. But what is the end game? The end game should be winning the Stanley Cup. Are the Pittsburgh Penguins going to win a Stanley Cup this year or next or in the next 3? No. Absolutely not. No. I just don't get what the plan is. And I guess you're thinking, hey, we've only got so many years left to Sidney Crosby, so we got to do what we can to win again with him. It's exactly where the Hawks are right now because they waited too long.
It seems like if they make the playoffs, it's going to be enjoy your 5 games and book your tee times.
Josh Yohe, I don't know how to pronounce. He's the Penguins writer for The Athletic. He laid into them this week, saying Ron Hextall is running this organization in the ground, saying the team needed to get bigger, younger, and faster, and Mikael Granlund does not check any one of those boxes, and he's on the hook for another couple years. So, yeah, I don't get what Pittsburgh's doing, but as somebody who hasn't forgiven them for 1992,
nor should you,
I'm enjoying that they're in hockey hell. My loser, it was tough to pick up a team because Penguins was definitely a choice. I was almost ready to just announce the entire Western Conference. But I'm going to go with the Calgary Flames because this was a team that I picked to win the Stanley Cup at the beginning of the year. So my apologies, Calgary. It's my fault.
It's a good
They're
pick, though.
not even in the playoffs as we speak. They won the offseason. They are offseason champions by getting Huberdeau and Weegar and Kadri. Those were guys who are like, that's going to put them over the top. They've become more of a Daryl Sutter type team. They're going to win playoff hockey games. And they just haven't had it. Now, Jacob Markstrom has been bad.
Yeah,
And that's a
tough.
big
Doesn't help.
problem. They have lost 24 one-goal games this season. That is an incredible stat. And that is why they're not in the playoffs as we speak. For them to not go out and do much of anything, they traded the Ritchie brothers and they got Troy Stetcher.
Troy
Whoop-de
Stetcher.
effing do. Like,
Your third
Don't forget
pairing-
they got Dryden Hunt as well.
Yeah.
that sounds like
sure.
something. Never mind.
Get a cream for that.
Woo, yeah, I was gonna say you could probably need an ointment for that. That's why KY was invented. Anyway, they
Oh, Lord.
well, you knew it was gonna get off the rails at some point.
Yes, of course.
Hey, we're over time, so this is off the rails.
Yeah, exactly.
This is off the
This
rails
is free.
time
Yeah.
now.
So
This is just for the fans.
Flames, they needed to do something. They needed to add a dynamic to that team. We know that their GM is definitely aggressive. They won the offseason and then didn't do anything at the trade deadline. They're going to go with the guys they got, which on paper should be good enough to be not only a playoff team, but a serious threat in the postseason. Let's see if it happens, but I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't make a big move.
Well, and the other thing, too, you talked about them winning the offseason, and they were like, Johnny Gaudreau decides not to resign, and then Matthew Tkachuk doesn't sign, so they're like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do here? And they recover and actually bring in good players. You could say, wow, they signed Kadri, they trade Tkachuk for Huberdeau and somebody else, right? And you look at on paper, they look like a better team, and the one goal thing is crazy. And if Markstrom is having a normal Markstrom season, they're probably winning more than half of those
Probably
losses.
leading the division.
Yeah. But man, it's crazy that they did nothing. And Philip says, wasn't there a rumor that Lucic was going to get traded to Chicago? No, we use that as an example of a team looking to get rid of a big salary to bring in somebody
They could have
else.
traded Lucic and a pick here to the Hawks. So
open
now they
up
have
money.
cap space to go out and get, Timo Meyer or whoever.
But you
they
need
want.
a guy like Lucic in the playoffs.
Sure you do.
Can't win without him.
Who's going to
you know?
spear an opponent in the balls if you don't have Milan Lucic?
Daryl Sutter will
Good
from
question.
the bench.
Dryden Hunt.
And they're not going to, like, and Calgary's not a team that should be really, like, they've got Kadri signed until 28-29. They've got Huberdeau signed till 2030-31.
That's not
at
real.
$10.5 million.
That's not a real year.
Like,
Joke's
they're-
on us. That year's never actually
Like,
happening.
they're going to have to try to keep winning. So, I don't know. Whatever.
Interesting.
It was weird. Weird they did nothing.
My loser is the Vancouver Canucks, another team with seemingly no plan. You go out and you get rid of Bo Horvat, and you get a first-round pick for him, and that's your big your big selling point. And we're gonna retool the roster, and Brock Besser and JT Miller might be out the door as well. Well, neither one of those two are out the door, but it is out the door. The first-round pick you got for Bo Horvat because you went and got Philip Hronek. What are you doing, Vancouver? You are over the cap and out of the playoffs. What the hell is happening to the Canucks? Like they have no idea what they're doing.
No, Jim Rutherford has lost his damn mind.
No idea what is happening there. And Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes are just being wasted in Vancouver. So I don't know what you're
couldn't
doing.
happen to a nicer bunch of folks.
Yeah,
Vancouver's a beautiful city.
I went there a few years ago for a friend's wedding and had a great time.
Beautiful city.
Seeing the views and the weather were great. It was in the summer. It was nice. Went hiking. Went to Stanley Park. It was great. Loved Vancouver. The Canucks, a shitbag fire. Like who? I have no idea what they're
It
doing.
smells terrible. Well, I mean, what do
No
you
idea
expect?
what they're
It's an
doing.
organization that has a statue of a man crying to the referees.
Well,
That's a good point.
there you go.
It's literally their statue out front of the arena is Roger Nielsen waving his white towel because he was complaining at the referees during a playoff series against the Blackhawks.
There you go.
So when your motto of your franchise is "Boo hoo, it's not going our way," that's what that's what you get.
Thanks to Katrina for becoming a diehard Keep up the good work, fellas, she says. We'll see you at a game, Katrina.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
One
And a
of
couple of
our
people
favorite
asking,
fans.
Arizona Coyotes PR has tweeted out,
Yeah.
this is the first trade in the NHL's trade database that involves brothers being traded for each other. So the
Ritchie
Ritchie
brothers.
brothers traded for each other, the first time in the history of the game
How about that?
brothers have been traded for each other.
And Brett Ritchie is immediately put on LTIR.
Yep.
We were here for history. Some updates here as we wrap up from our friend at Bleacher Nation Blackhawks, Tab Bamford. Anders Bjork is going to come to Chicago and finish the season with the Blackhawks. And appears that newest acquisition, Austin Wagner, that is going to be the same deal for him. He is going to come to Chicago and stick with the Blackhawks for the season. So it appears no Ice Hogs time for either Bjork or Austin Wagner.
You still only still only skate 18 guys a night, so
Sure.
Yeah. Why ruin that great chemistry they got going on down there?
Yeah.
All right.
Are
we good? I think we're good, right?
I'm going to think of some good Mekwon questions for Anders Bjork
you
next
go.
time he's in the locker
At
room.
least I know that I don't have to worry about getting anything lost in translation, knowing that he's not actually from Sweden.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they kind of, no offense, they kind of speak a different language in Wisconsin, but at least it's you can translate it a lot easier. Yeah.
I'll translate.
Emily
for you
Kaplan
guys.
just has to say thank you to him.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, eh?
Thanks,
eh?
dear.
Exactly. All right. Hey, we appreciate all of you being with us for this show. I know it was a little bit anticlimactic after everything went down over the last week or so, but you guys showed out for us, and we greatly appreciate it. If you've not done it on your way out, please smash that like button for us. That
gotta
helps
update that graphic.
our visibility
Yeah, we do.
on YouTube. Yeah.
Or at least put him in a blue jersey.
We need,
no.
yeah. Oh, boy. Let's not do that. That's too sad. Smash that like button for us. Become a diehard like Katrina did. Again, remember, if you're a day oneer, renewal tomorrow. Don't miss anything
Yeah.
at allchgo.com.
Birthday party tomorrow.
Yeah.
We get to celebrate our first birthday with Blackhawks Predators.
It's also
It's all Chicago's birthday, but our birthday too.
it's also Greg's birthday on Sunday.
That's not a
Hey.
big deal.
Oh, shut up.
Nice.
Just enjoy your birthday.
You going to Chuck E. Cheese?
I
He's
wasn't
not allowed
until
near
now-
Chuck E. Cheese
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
I blame Dryden Hunt.
All right.
we need to stop the show.
Yeah, we need to go home. All right. Thanks for listening to us. We appreciate it. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Thanks to Steven for running the show. For Greg and Mario, I'm Jay. This has
Made
been
it, everybody.
the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.